bold journalism.
But Drew Hernandez is a strong-minded individual.
Exposing lawlessness.
Drew Hernandez, who is ideological.
Finding the truth.
And use the word Antifa.
This is what they do.
Battling
They're
mainstream
liars. The woke mob, all they can do is lie.
These are the front lines.
Welcome to TPUSA Live. My name is Drew Hernandez, host of Frontlines. We've got a lot of great stuff coming up for you on the live stream today. First up here on Frontlines, new audio leaked from inside Twitter's all-hands meeting shows just how concerned the employees are about keeping their definition of free speech. Plus, a disturbing book is being promoted by the American Academy of Pediatrics. This is pretty sick stuff, continuing to target children and sexualize them. After Frontlines, we'll send it over to the TPUSA Live couch with John Root and your favorite contributors today. They're talking all about how China is banning its own national anthem, and Dr. Fauci admits he might finally step down. Then Jack Posobiec takes it from there with a special episode of Human Events Daily, breaking down everything you need to know about the Durham investigation in a bombshell episode. Then we'll wrap things up with Alex Clark in politics. Apparently Will Smith is finding some inner healing with a yoga trip. Yeah, good luck with that, Will. I'm pretty sure Jada will have fun while you're gone. Just saying. Frontlines is now available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and other streaming services. Don't forget to subscribe. Leave a 5-star review now. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, smash the like button, hit the bell notification, and share this video everywhere. If you're watching on Facebook, Twitter, or anywhere else, please reshare this transmission now. My name is Drew Hernandez, and you are now on the front lines. Breaking news, America, the post-millennial reports. This is all over Twitter and social media. The Biden administration, the President Biden administration, has created a disinformation governance board under the Department of Homeland Security to fight misinformation. The board will be headed by Nina Jankowicz. This is what she tweeted today. Here's my official portrait to grab your attention. Now that I've got it, a huge focus of our work, and indeed one of the key reasons the board was established, is to maintain the department's commitment to protecting free speech, privacy, civil rights, and civil liberties. Yeah, this is definitely 1984 vibes, the Ministry of Truth. They're going to dictate what is true. They're going to dictate what is misinformation, disinformation. They're going to dictate to you what is allowed in the real world. And it's interesting, the timing, right? The timing comes days after Elon Musk purchases Twitter and is pushing for free speech on the platform. We will see where this Ministry of Truth ends up, and we will see if they're actually going to advocate and protect civil liberties and free speech. Actually, every time these people say that they're creating something like this to regulate whatever is said on or off a platform, or even in the real world, we always know how that goes. It always ends up becoming a situation of censorship, shadow banning, or just literally silencing any voice that they declare is disinformation or misinformation. Sounds like a bad idea to me. But speaking of the Twitter saga with Elon Musk purchasing Twitter, this is huge news. We've been covering this for the past few days. It continues internally. Twitter is losing its mind. The employees, the SJWs, the woke tards, and everyone that gets their feelings hurt has no idea how to cope with Elon Musk now being in charge. Project Veritas last night released a series of audios that were showing the internal meetings and the just absolute chaos that's going inside of Twitter right now that Elon Musk is taking over. Here's one of the videos, leaked audios of them talking about a mass exodus that could potentially happen.
How does the board and Mr. Musk plan on dealing with a mass exodus, considering the acquisition is by a person with questionable ethics? With no board in place, who will keep Elon accountable and how? Elon made it clear in public that a large part of the reason he bought the platform was because of our moderation policies and disagreements in how we deal with health. This puts Twitter service and trust and safety, as well as anybody who cares about health on the platform, in a very difficult position.
They claim to care about free speech. These people think that they're about to get their speech censored, but they're planning a mass exodus. All of a sudden, listen, of course Elon Musk is Darth Vader. Of course, Elon Musk is the villain. Of course, Elon Musk is the bad guy in this situation because these people aren't afraid of losing the ability to speak. They're afraid of losing the ability to restrict what you say on the platform, and that's the threat that Elon Musk poses, and that's why they're conspiring a mass exodus out of the company as a protest to Elon because he's the scary fascist white supremacist. It's the same crap that they say about everyone that they disagree with. Well, here's another leaked audio of them contemplating as to whether or not they could trust Elon and his claims of wanting free speech.
During the last all hands, you said that you trust Elon Musk. The correct quote was, "We trust him." So who is we? And talking to Elon, what made you trust him?
And based on the conversation I had with him when we were excited to have him join our board, that was because as a major shareholder and an opinionated user, we wanted that voice in our boardroom so that we could learn.
Is there an updated understanding on what free speech means?
The question behind the question here, which is where might Twitter's product go as a private company in the future once this deal closes?
That is the CEO of Twitter. Obviously, they're losing their minds right now. They're trying to figure out where the company is going to go. It is literally like you've been seeing all these tweets, people taking to Twitter thinking that this is literally like the end of the world, like it's Armageddon. What is free speech? What's the definition of free speech? What does Elon mean when he says he wants free speech on the platform? I don't know. Maybe he's already tweeted it. He says whatever the law is in the United States of America in regards to free speech. Twitter is an American company. Obviously, it is global, worldwide, but it's American-based, and he just kind of wants it to be how America handles its own free speech with their own constitution, which I think makes sense. It's the United States of America, but these people are globalists, so of course they don't want to abide by the law. They just want to do whatever they want, so that's why they come out and say, what's the definition of free speech? We all know what that means to them. It's speech that only they agree with. Here's another video of this leaked Project Veritas audio. This is leaked audio. This is video A3. These are Twitter employees that are concerned about the diversity and inclusion once Elon Musk takes over. Take a look.
I would love to know how this change will impact our overall DEI goals.
Twitter is at its best when all diverse voices in the world feel safe and feel encouraged to engage in the public conversation. That belief is what drives us to have a diverse workforce internally on all dimensions, to have multiple perspectives and points of views represented internally so that we can empathize with all of our customers all around the world and serve them in the best possible way.
I mean, these people claim that they want equality. They claim that they want speech to be diverse and inclusive. They want everybody to speak on the platform, but they doublespeak. They use doublespeak. They think that it's the end of the world. They think that everybody's going to get censored that has a difference of an opinion, that has a difference of identity, or that has a difference of what they're saying in their speech, when quite literally it's been them doing that because they project and they live in fear and they have all of these phobias. So that's why they end up putting on you what they're actually doing or what they're planning to do. So they censor your speech as a preemptive measure because they think it's going to happen to them. We've seen this time in, time out. Their definition of equality is not real. Their definition of inclusivity is not real, because if it was, then conservatives would not be shadow banned. Libertarians or patriots or freedom-loving individuals that just love America and want to say what they want to say on the platform would not be shadow banned or banned right now, because if you really want diversity and inclusivity, then you would allow everyone to speak freely without being banned or shadow banned on the platform. And they're freaking out and losing their minds. Joining me now is reporter for Rebel News, Ian Miles Chong. He is a great reporter. He writes amazing articles. He's a great friend of mine, is a killer on Twitter. I'm using speech that is not literal. He's just amazing. Ian, good to see you, bro. What is your immediate reaction to these leaked audios?
It's amazing. Well, it's not really amazing. I mean, I expected it. And Parag Agrawal, he sounds like he's got a gun held to his head. You know, like he's beholden to the members of the board, especially Leslie Berland. And she seems to be the one in charge. If you ask me, she's the one wearing the pants in this company. And she's clearly the one behind Twitter's moderation policies, as we've seen has been extremely heavy-handed in its censorship of the left. And, I don't know if you've noticed this, and I'm sure you have, but a lot of people are coming back. I gained thousands of followers since Elon Musk took power, and he's not fully in charge, but it seems like they've removed some of the algorithms that were in place to shadow ban conservatives. I mean, I saw Jack Posobiec gain something like 50,000 new subscribers on his Twitter account. So I mean, this is a positive thing. And meanwhile, Democrats are reporting that they've lost 50,000 subscribers, probably because there's this whole drive to leave Twitter and maybe go to TikTok or Tumblr, as our friend at the Washington Post might say. Let's go back to Tumblr.
Yeah, I mean, like, even that top lawyer that was on the podcast with Jack Dorsey, that amazing podcast on Joe Rogan with Tim Pool, Rogan, and this lawyer and Jack Dorsey, the reports are coming out saying that she's getting emotional with the staff when talking about how unclear things were beyond the immediate future. According to Politico, Gade got teary-eyed on Monday when discussing Elon Musk's takeover of Twitter. Gad has said to have played a crucial role in the negotiations between Musk and Twitter board for finalizing the deal. I mean, what are they so afraid of, Ian? They're the ones who censor
free
people.
Speech. Right, and they're losing their power. They're losing their ability to define the narrative. And as we all know, their narrative is the only one they allow. They don't allow alternative voices. When someone comes along, say the New York Post reports on Hunter Biden's laptop, they censor it without question. They say it's violated their hacked materials policy. Facebook did the same. And it turns out it wasn't hacked, but they didn't care. They had to explain themselves to Congress. And I feel bad for Jack Dorsey. When he was in charge, he had to go along with it. And he even admitted that it was a mistake to do that. And now, Elon Musk has a most amazing, a most surprising supporter at Twitter, and that's Jack Dorsey. I wonder if Jack Dorsey's going to make a comeback. Maybe he gets to run the company the way that he wanted to without the board of directors telling him what to do.
Well, every man has their price. Every man has a breaking limit. I think it looks like Jack Dorsey was broken from within. I mean, he claimed to wanted Twitter to be the free speech platform that we all thought it was going to be. It is the complete opposite. And you say, like, the current CEO sounds like he's got a gun to his head to please the board and all these SJWs. That obviously happened to Jack Dorsey. But I wanted you to react to this, Ian. Here is a tweet from Elon Musk. This is from his own mouth, digitally. He said, "By free speech, I simply mean that which matches the law. I am against censorship that goes far beyond the law. If people want less free speech, they will ask government to pass laws to that effect. Therefore, going beyond the law is contrary to the will of the people." What's your reaction to that?
Sounds good to me. I mean, it's simple. Free speech doesn't protect violent speech. It doesn't protect child sexual predation. It doesn't protect harassment, revenge porn, right? Anything that you can think of that these people are freaking out about. They're saying that, he's going to allow people to call for the deaths of people they don't like anymore. Well, no, it's not protected under the law. That's not what the First Amendment protects. And it's quite obvious he's referring to the First Amendment. He even says so himself. So they're blowing it out of proportion. They've basically created a boogeyman, a Baba Yaga, if you will. And they think he's like John Wick. He's going to go around hunting down trans people and misgendering them. Right? Because that's the worst thing to happen to a trans person is being misgendered. It's worse than anything else. It's literal violence. So they think he's going to do that. And he's certainly not going to do that. He has no interest in any of these people. He just wants everybody to be able to speak their minds, to be able to have free political speech, because as he himself has said, Twitter is like a virtual town square. It's a digital town square. And you wouldn't prohibit a person from speaking their mind on the street. I mean, people say the craziest things on the street, and that's fine. They are allowed to do that, and we're allowed to ignore them. And it's funny to see people complaining that, Elon Musk has blocked them. Oh, so much for free speech. Well, it's his platform. I mean, it's his account, personal platform, and he's not banning them from speaking. He simply doesn't want to listen to them. So I think it's all blown out of proportion. They've created a monster, in their own heads, of course, just like everything else. With Trump, they said he was worse than Hitler. With Putin, they said he was worse than Hitler. And now they're doing it with Elon Musk. I mean, who's next?
Exactly. That is such a great point. And that's the point I wanted to make, Ian, is they do this with everyone that they think is a threat. They use their propaganda. They use their misinformation, their disinformation. They They use their lies before anyone has a chance to even like know who the person is or even see their actions. They did the same thing to President Trump. He's the second coming of Adolf Hitler. He's a neo-Nazi. All the white people in the United States of America are going to target all of the poor blacks and browns. It never happened. Fascism is making a comeback. It never happened. They use the phobia and then they project and they do it themselves. And like you said, they're going to do the same thing with Elon Musk. Speaking of President Trump, this was a weird tweet last night. I don't know if it was cryptic. I just wanted your opinion on this. Elon tweeted this last night and said, Truth Social is currently beating Twitter and TikTok on the Apple Store. And it's a screenshot of the Apple charts and the apps, the free app store. And Truth is number 1, Twitter is number 2, TikTok is number 5. And then in the thread, he said, Truth Social, terrible name, exists because Twitter censored free speech, should be called Trumpet instead. What's your opinion on that? Why do you think he's tweeting things like this?
I think it's a way to encourage competition of the marketplace, right? He's not saying don't go to Truth Social. He's saying check it out. I mean, if they can do it, so can we. And there's a reason Truth Social is popular right now. It's because of free speech, and people are concerned about free speech. And while, you know, Truth Social, I don't really see it having the same amount of traction in, say, the next 2 weeks. I think this is temporary because Truth Social just opened up. The reason it exists in the first place is because of free speech. There's clearly a demand for it. And Elon Musk, like all his previous inventions, you know, the electric vehicle, Starlink, Neuralink now, and, you know, the Boring Company and so on, the man's a visionary. He gets it. He understands it. And he sees the market for what it is. He sees that there's this huge demand for free speech, and he's willing to turn Twitter into the platform that offers it. No one else is doing that, not on the level that he is. And, you know, I think, I forget who said it exactly, but Twitter has the potential to be larger even than Tesla, because as the only free speech platform on the internet that's not moderated by, you know, these political hacks, it stands to be the #1 place where people go to have social political discussions without any fear of retribution. And that's a wonderful thing. I mean, this is a huge development. I don't think a lot of people understand the full ramifications of this, because he has truly thrown a spanner in the works of you know, the WEF and how they want to censor people for disinformation and dangerous speech. He's saying, no, we should be allowed to have these conversations. We should be allowed to talk about it. And I think it's going to cause a domino effect. I think sites like YouTube and Instagram and Facebook are probably going to follow suit to some extent to maybe steal some of that audience from him.
Absolutely. And some of these bigger voices that have been banned on these platforms would bring millions of users into the apps. Like, they need that for advertisers and ad revenue, but that's another conversation. I wanted to ask you this last question, Ian. MSNBC, all these woke-tards and these, like you say, political hacks all over the fake news media channels are coming out and saying, oh, you know, Elon Musk, if he really wanted to, during election seasons and midterms, he could actually shadow ban from behind the scenes a political opponent if he wanted to, maybe even deplatform someone he doesn't like, as if they haven't done that already. Like, what the hell?
They
Ian?
did it. They did it to MTG. They did it to many different political commentators when 2020 was happening. They suspended a number of popular accounts, and for what? For posting a meme. You remember Carpe Diem? He was banned for posting a meme that later they even apologized to him for. They were like, oh yeah, our banning was wrong, but they never reinstated him. They did that with the Babylon Bee when it started questioning the whole trans narrative, the trans agenda. They said it was hate speech to make fun of Rachel Levine. Yeah, please.
Yeah, but at the same time, Ian, Elon wants it to be open source. So, I mean, like, wouldn't you be able to see, finally, we'd be able to see, like, some of these practices? Can you explain, like, how that would work now moving forward? So if there was shadow banning, like, we would actually be able to take a look at codes and open source and say, hey, this is happening.
Yeah, I think that's what they're terrified of, because Elon Musk isn't just buying Twitter. He's buying their secrets. He's buying all the things that they did under wraps, the things that they did in the shadows. Now we get to see it. We get to see how much they shadow banned people, who they shadow banned, and for what reason. So, you know, in Poland, when it stopped being a communist country in, like, what, 1989 or 1990, the first thing they did to create, you know, healing and trust for the new government was to release all of the USSR's logs on people because they had dossiers on political dissidents. They released all of it, and they showed the public how exactly people were surveilled and how they were tracked, how they were spied on, and it made people trust the new government even more, and good for them. I mean, that's what a democracy does, and I hope he does the same thing here. He needs to reveal how they did these things, how they suspended people, how they silenced people, how they silenced certain discussions, all these things. I mean, I'm sure they've kept logs of all their activities, certainly with the Hunter Biden laptop story. I'd love to see those discussions.
Absolutely. Ian, this is why I bring you on the show, dude. It's such a great point. You're like red pilling me while I'm sitting here listening on my own show. Elon Musk didn't only buy Twitter, he's buying their secrets. That is a freaking soundbite. Ian, thank you for joining me today. Where can people follow you and follow all your great work?
You can follow me on Twitter at StillGray, and you can also follow me on Telegram, just in case, at Culture War Room. That's one word.
Awesome. Ian, see you soon, man. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
Well, there it is, America. I mean, I think it's pretty clear. These people are freaking out because they know they're about to be exposed even more. But by the way, we all shop at the grocery store, and I'm sure you're feeling the sting when you see the number on that register start to rise. What if you could buy the food you need for a great price and donate to TPUSA? Now you can with Good Ranchers. They sell 100% American meat, and they believe so much in what we are doing here that they will donate $50 to TPUSA on your behalf when you buy from them. Just go to goodranchers.com/TPUSA to get steakhouse quality beef, chicken, and seafood delivered right to your door. Over 85% of grass-fed beef is imported from overseas, but Good Ranchers only sources 100% American beef. Again, that's goodranchers.com/TPUSA today to solve your meat problem and donate to TPUSA in the process. Now is the time to support American farms and ranches and help what we do here possible with one small purchase. Tell whoever buys the meat in your house, whoever's the breadwinner, to go to goodranchers.com/TPUSA and get your box today. All right, America, let's continue with our second story of the day. Breaking news from the Daily Wire, more targeting of children. Here's the headline: Girls with Erections? American Academy of Pediatrics targets young kids, again, young kids, with new radical gender ideology puberty guide. The Daily Wire says, Can Girls Get Erections? A co-author of the American Academy of Pediatrics' newest guide to puberty not only says yes to that question, that they can, but that such occurrences are completely normal. Yeah, they follow the science, right? Not at all. In response to these claims, some pro-family groups, sane-thinking people, are slamming the gender-diverse book as insanity, as they should. On April 19th, the AAP issued a new guide titled Euology, a puberty guide for everybody, targeted toward children as young as ages 9 through 13 years old. One pediatrician who helped write the book explained in a radio interview that the group of professional doctors wanted to purposefully include chapters explaining radical gender ideology to children. They call it inclusive. They say that it's meant to educate children. They say that it's meant to unlock the minds of children. It's on Amazon. You can go buy it right now. Radical gender theory isn't just fringe stuff anymore. It's mainstream. So mainstream that this book is targeting little children to indoctrinate them pretty disgustingly. In the book, characters come out to their friends as trans after feeling embarrassed for not having breasts. Yeah, what kind of child needs to be taught this stuff between the ages of 9 and 12? It also breaks down terms like assigned sex, cis, and trans. This book is allowed to be in the kids section of Amazon, and Amazon claims the reading age, again, is 9 to 12. The description of the book says, remember that awkward day in school when the boys went to one classroom and the girls to another, and everyone nervously giggled? Learning about taboo topics like menstruation and erections? Again, 9 to 12. What if your kids could learn about changing bodies in a way that isn't secretive or shameful? And what if it could even be inclusive, fun, and well, kind of adorable? Again, well, kind of adorable? Who thinks puberty and erections are adorable? Well, I'll tell you, these pedophilic freak weirdos do. that are literally using this propaganda to target your little kids to get them to be thinking about what erections are at the age of 9. Does anybody think that's weird? Kind of sick, kind of twisted? I mean, the parents should be able to have this conversation with a little kid, but this is what the public education system wants to do. Here are some reviews actually on Amazon that you could find publicly. This Amazon review written by a parent says, our kids are 7 and 8 years old, and first of all, they both love this book. I bought each their own copy. Wonder if that's even real. Here's another. It's been hard to find books written for children that talk about bodies and puberty in a more detailed way that avoids separating things into boy stuff or girl stuff. Plus, it can be helpful for them to learn about what happens to all kinds of different bodies. And a lot of those other books about puberty equate biological sex, genitals, with gender, he, she, they, which can be confusing at best for kids who know that isn't always true. It's like, listen, I'll probably sit here and say, I don't think that's a real parent. It might be. It might just be some pedophilic weirdo freak that endorses this book, or some kind of weird woke-tard millennial that, I don't know, maybe does have kids. This is child abuse. You shouldn't be sexualizing children. Even if it is your own children, you shouldn't be sexualizing them and indoctrinating them with pornographic material at such a young age, because it warps their mind. Oh, you just sound like an old school conservative. I don't know. Maybe it just sounds kind of weird, kind of wrong. But these are the people that want to indoctrinate your children with this propaganda. We're not talking about teenagers here. We're not talking about young adults that are leaving high school or that are in university or in college. No, they're targeting children with this pornographic visual material that gets in the psyche of a 9-year-old and then begins to get them to think about pornographic images in their own mind. It sexualizes a child's young mind and can eventually lead them to be a sex addict, a porn addict. Who knows? But this is what these people think is inclusive. They think it's tolerance. They think it's education. And you know what? I actually believe that they do believe that that's true in their own minds. But they're depraved. They're twisted. They've lost their minds. These people do not understand how twisted and depraved and disgusting this type of content targeting children really is. But by the way, this book is allowed to be in the kids section of Amazon, but Daily Wire host Matt Walsh's book, Johnny the Walrus, a book definitely written appropriately for children, is not. Make it make sense. Amazon has actually pulled ads for the book, calling it political commentary. Notice how Amazon has not classified the book under children's books, but rather politics and social sciences books, even though it is a clearly children's picture book, innocent book for children. Do you see how these people do this? How they villainize that which is normal? How they villainize and demonize anything that is actually age appropriate for the mind of a child, anything that they think is, I don't know, that seems to be demonic, that seems to be demonizing, that's going to be propaganda because it came from a white nationalist like Matt Walsh. This is what these people do. They demonize anything that is actually normal for a child while they take their doctrines of demons and use that to indoctrinate your children and get pornographic images and thoughts in their psyche while they try to get you to think that that's normal. That's not the new normal. We're not in a society right now, at least I don't want us to be, where pornographic material is normalized for little kids between the ages of 9 and 12 years old. It's disgusting. Listen, if you're a parent right now, if you're a mother or a father, if you're a grandmother or a grandpa and you're seeing this stuff, please protect your children from these psychopaths. These psychopaths want to make an entire generation believe that all of this stuff is normal. They openly say that. They openly advocate for that. They know that if they can literally win the youth, if they can win the young people, that they will win an entire generation, but they're not doing it with political ideologies. This goes beyond politics. This is not like a left or right issue. It's that the far left has lost their minds and they openly promote child pornography or child pornographic things to little kids as young as 9. Yes, the far left are the ones doing this. This is why we need to push back aggressively against it as peacefully as possible. Pull your kids out, protect your kids, because these people want your babies to grow up thinking that child pornography or these pornographic themes in their minds are normal. They're not normal. They will never be normal. That's not progression. They want to sit here and say, we're progressing, we believe in evolution, we're evolving. No, we are quite literally degrading ourselves. We are quite literally deteriorating as a civilization, especially a society in the United States of America. And you want to know how you could tell? You take the pulse, you take the temperature of the culture and the society and how they deal with their children. How do they treat their kids? How do they treat their youth? Right now, the United States of America, because of the far-left psychopaths, are trying to take society where we treat our children as pornographic sex objects. I think that lets you know just where the United States of America currently sits as a society right now. You get rid of morality, you get rid of sanity, and that's where we are. My name is Drew Hernandez. These are the Front Lines, and TPUSA Live starts right now.
Boom, you heard the man. Thanks a lot, Drew Hernandez. Everybody, welcome to TPUSA HQ in Phoenix, Arizona. This is what we're covering today on TPUSA Live. First, hashtag liberal meltdown is trending on Twitter. China decides to ban their own national anthem and so much more in the daily briefing. Next, you already knew this, 46 needs a fix. As we take a deep dive into what disastrous policies the Biden administration is pushing on our country. Then make sure you stick around for another edition of Indoctrination Nation as teachers are telling second graders about furries. Why do we always have to talk about furries? But stick around. After the wackiest, weirdest, and wokest content on the internet in another edition of What in the World Wednesday, including Megan Fox drinking blood. Oh, it's a weird day, people. Finally, as Twitter users are seeing an increase in followers. Is that because Musk decided he's taking over the platform? Find out in one last thing. All right, let's roll. TPUSA Live from HQ starts right now.
Authentic, unfiltered, grassroots content and conversation every weekday. Live from Phoenix, Arizona at the Turning Point USA headquarters, this is TPUSA Live.
Like I told you, we're at TPUSA HQ in Phoenix, Arizona. We got Isabel Brown, a TPUSA contributor. What's that say, Nash?
Nashville. We got my friend Christine's Be Happy Your Mom Chose Life.
I thought it said, Be Happy This Mom Chose Life, and I was like,
No.
Isabel, is there something you need to tell us?
Not yet. Hopefully someday.
Yeah, so we're going to bring Brock on the couch. We also got TPUSA contributor Alex Clark. What's going on?
Happy to be back.
I like the flannel vibe.
Thank you.
You got the mom vibe right now, too.
Yes, thank you. A little bit,
Are
maybe.
they calling us old? I mean,
Camping mom vibe.
That's better. That's
Camping
better.
And just in case you didn't watch yesterday or just need a reminder, this is the funny guy.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
What
is your shirt, Bobby?
This is a rant that I made on an Instagram Live one time where I basically said that Donnie is coming back. He lives in a pineapple under the sea. He's going to come save us. So obviously that happened.
I love it.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
TPUSA ambassador Bobby Sausalito, also known as Take Naps.
Take naps?
Something that I never do.
Yes.
Seriously?
I can't remember the last time I took a nap.
Oh my gosh, naps are peak adulthood. If you are not regularly napping, you have not figured out how to be a successful adult, and I will die on this hill.
Luxury, yeah.
No, I lay down and then all of a sudden I'm thinking about how do I solve world hunger. Like I just had these things that just run through my mind. I was
John,
like,
you solve world hunger by taking a nap so that you're well rested to solve world hunger.
Yeah, reboot.
For this first segment, I'm going to take a nap and they'll take over.
Yeah.
All right, so this first one here. So you might have noticed here, it looks like a Canadian tuxedo, and it is. But I found out when I was just wearing denim today, we had another producer upstairs and said like, oh, you're wearing denim. It's denim day. I had never heard of denim day or really what that meant. But I guess there's an organization called Peace Over Violence that runs a denim day on a Wednesday in April in honor of Sexual Violence Awareness Month.
Cool, well, there you go.
I guess there's a little backstory to that. In the 90s in Italy, I guess there was an 18-year-old girl that jumped into a car with a 45-year-old married man that was her driving instructor, and then ended up raping her in that car.
Oh my gosh, that's horrible.
And the justification they had for this was she had such tight jeans on, there must have been some sort of consent. And it was it's absolutely insane because I didn't know about this at all. So I'm like, all right, I got a jean jacket. I'm happy to support this and bring a little bit more awareness. I think it's a nice little cause because they've been doing it for about 22
Dang
years.
it, that's cool. I wish I would have known. I wear Canadian tuxedos all the time.
Yeah. They're actually kind of in. There's a way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but cool little campaign.
That is
but
cool.
Something we know, libs are going nuts. ever since Elon said he's going to take over Twitter, hashtag liberal meltdown is trending. It was trending at number 3 on Twitter.
Nice.
There it is.
Love to see it.
And man, I just even saw a few executives come out and say, isn't it crazy on day one that Elon Musk is coming after some of the most powerful female executives at the company just because he was talking about why did you suppress the New York Post story? It's like you have a couple women that are at the top, and he's not calling out women, he's just calling out executives and censorship. But it's got to turn into racism, got to turn into misogyny, it's got to be some sort of big buzzword to devalue the guy.
It's discrimination unless if you're a white man, that's the big problem. Otherwise, it's discrimination.
You know, this is actually very ironic because these women claim to be these powerful, strong, corporate executive, take on the world types. Nothing is going to tear me down. I'm a girl boss. And yet, when you're even remotely questioned, they cry and scream and shout to the skies that there's some sort of discrimination happening. This is exactly what furthers the stereotype of women being fragile. That's all I'm going to say.
Yes.
That's true. Yep.
You know who's the worst, Alex Clark?
Who?
Actors and actresses.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know that for sure.
Yeah.
Did you see what Mark Ruffalo had to say about it's a gift that we have
Yes.
these high gas prices? We're going to show you the video, and then I definitely want to get your take on this. Check it out.
At the end of the day, we're going to win, and we're winning. And that's how we fight, by proving it on the ground, by giving people jobs, by bringing their energy costs down, by creating more national security. And this is a moment for President Biden to take this, our momentum, people's fear, their disgust with the war, their disgust with energy prices, and use that to solidify a message to the American people that now is the time to transition. This is where the jobs are. This is where national security is, and we are going to keep pushing him to do it. And this is a gift to the president as we see it, and we see him accepting it in such terms.
It's a gift to the president.
Well, this is, of course it is, because if gas prices are so high, inflation is so high, this all works into them being able to push this Green New Deal type of, green energy agenda, get everyone on electric cars, usher in socialism. Like, this is all part of the plan. So yeah, to them, it is a gift because people are going to want to buy electric cars if they can save money on gas. Nobody can afford gas right now.
Maybe they won't, though. I don't know. There's a lot of screaming people who probably already drive Teslas that are probably rethinking that purchase right about now.
I know. I thought about that. I'm like, you guys are really in a catch-22 here. Like, I'm green energy, drive a Tesla, hate Elon Musk. What do I do?
My car can drive itself and tweet. And like, I hate this. Oh my gosh.
Oh no.
But I think that just goes along the lines of elitism. Again, you have someone that's saying, like, what a gift. Like, there's people out right now, they can't afford groceries. They can't afford to even get to work because gas prices are so high. They're trying to figure out carpooling or something like that. People are in dire need of help. And this guy says, well, what a gift, the big man himself.
Out of curiosity, how much did it cost you guys the last time you filled up your car all the way?
This is definitely the most I've ever spent. And gas prices were high in the San Francisco Bay Area. I remember, like, that was the worst. But it's, dude, I think I spent it was like $78 to fill up.
$125.
$125.
Do you have a truck?
I have a SUV, yeah.
I'm right under 90, but I'm premium
I'm
as
around
well.
90 right now as well, which is asinine.
Almost double, I feel like. I feel like I never really went above $75, and it's like, it's
Yeah,
pretty consistently.
When we had President Trump, the most it cost me to fill my gas tank up all the way was under 50.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
what a change.
It's gone up a lot for me.
I was looking at going to visit my family in
good.
Colorado, and I was looking at the airline prices and thought, oh my gosh, this is so expensive. But then I did the math on how much it would be to drive the 12 hours, which I've done several times. It would actually cost me more to drive to Denver with gas prices than to pay the exorbitant amount now that the flights are, which is just crazy.
What a gift, though. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Wow. This other news is pretty nuts too. So China, obviously, there's a bunch of censorship in new movies out there, and they're just authoritarian. They're locking people in their houses. We're seeing so many heartbreaking videos every single day out of there. But they're censoring and banning social media posts featuring their national anthem. So they're using
their national anthem?
Their national anthem. So
Why?
they're using it as a rallying cry. So part of that. In posts are saying there's a stanza that says the march from the March of Volunteers, arise ye who refuse to be slaves. So they're using this like, all right, well, I'm not going to be a slave to this regime. And then they're censoring them, they're taking them down. And it's
I want off
China.
this planet.
There's so much selective outrage. It's like there's millions of people, tens of millions of people trapped in their homes, locking buildings. And this is the most horrible thing probably happening in the entire world. But people don't talk about that. There's wars going on all around the world all the time that no one ever talks about, yet we focus on Ukraine. It's like there's such selective outrage that is something that we certainly should be paying attention to. And where are all the celebrities not talking about that?
Well, they never talk about China, ever. I mean,
they
that's
can't.
not new, and they probably can't because they have corporate deals that prohibit them from doing so.
Right.
But you're right, we absolutely should be calling attention to this. Just a couple weeks ago, what was happening in Shanghai, I believe it's still happening, by the way, where people are still locked in their homes. We're talking about like 30 million people still locked in their homes. They can't leave to go grocery shopping. The government isn't delivering food. People are literally starving to death. And at night, they're flying around these incredibly creepy drones that in a Siri almost voice say, please restrain your human desire for freedom. Stay inside your homes. Da 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 da. So people are literally jumping to their deaths. They're committing suicide because they can't live like this anymore. Just the psychological damage. And I posted a reel about that, and everywhere white liberals came out of the woodwork. This isn't really happening. This is propaganda. And then literally hundreds of people from Shanghai were like, I live here. This is horrible. I can't believe no one is covering this. Thank you for posting this. It's insane.
Well, remember Dr. Birx, the scarf lady during the pandemic? Well, she just came out yesterday and said that she wishes that the United States would have been like Italy or China when we would have done our first round of lockdowns. She says we didn't do enough. She said we should have had people not allowed to leave their house and, been having police like keep people inside and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because that fixed it for China 2 years later.
Right.
They're fine now.
Yep.
Statistics. They don't care about statistics. Like, there's a lot of countries where their rates are really high, their vaccination rates are really high, yet they would have all these cases, these explosions of cases. It's like, is anyone not looking at the statistics? I don't understand how they can just let that pass right through. It's like, if most people don't pay attention, and that's why we're in trouble.
But if we do have celebrities and people of prominence that actually talk about China, they're usually going to speak in Mandarin, John Cena, and they're going to apologize. And then you're also going to have, the NBA, they weren't allowed to put Free Hong Kong in the back of their jerseys during the bubble when they're in Orlando.
Yep.
They're constantly getting protected, but definitely thoughts and prayers for everybody out there. I know that's just a dire situation. And, luckily we have a Bill of Rights here. We got to remind people of that. There's places like Australia and China and all across the world, they don't have a Bill of Rights. People have constitutions, but they don't have a Bill of Rights, and they're not able to fight back. I think there was a lot of people here, we've covered it till we're blue in the face, that they've just allowed the government to do and say whatever they want, but the liberties and rights that we have, we can't freely give them up, or else we're going to start looking like these places. But we're going to get you fired up for the new season of Socialism Sucks, featuring our good buddy, Joe Bob, and then we'll be right back talking about how President 46 needs a fix.
Hard to believe, I know, but it's true. They see you as a product. China is the blueprint for consolidating power. Down the rabbit hole you go. Are you paying attention now?
Welcome back to TPUSA HQ. We got Isabel Brown, Alex Clark, funny guy, Bobby Sausalito, and I'm John Rood. So we need to talk about 46 needs a fix. Every single day we need to talk about this, but the border's an issue. And it sounds like the Biden administration is unveiling plans to deal with the unexpected, at least that's what they're saying, migrant surge at the border. So they released a plan on Tuesday handling the influx of migrants expected to cross the U.S. border when Title 42 ends. And parts of those 6 pillars to address the migrant flows, including customs and border protection, having the ability to hold around 18,000 migrants at a time in custody by May 23rd, when the Trump-era policy used to expel quickly these migrants. Because we know there's about to be a surge happening right now, Bobby.
Yeah. It certainly is very troubling how we're concerned with the borders in other nations and not so concerned about our own. And it's always like, let's focus on things that are not in our best interest here at home. It's like we have drugs and human trafficking and all these horrible things happening at the border, yet we don't pay attention to it. Kamala goes to somewhere that's not even near the border one time, and that's the border czar. It's absolutely terrifying. And then there's all these overdose deaths and all these terrible things that are happening. It's like, why are we sending $800 million to Ukraine? I pray for the people of Ukraine, but how is this okay? And how does nobody seem to care about this? It's a tragedy that this is not the mainstream news item. You watch TV and it's like Ukraine, Ukraine, in Ukraine all day, every day. And that is not something that we should be focusing on when this type of thing is happening right here.
And then at times like this, obviously, we're going to look to people like Alejandro Mayorkas, the top dog over there at the Department of Homeland Security, but he's also been quoted saying the biggest threat is white supremacy.
Right.
It's like, no, it seems like there's a pretty big threat that hundreds of thousands of people that look like they're about to cross our border, and we're going to be overwhelmed and not know what to do. But this is a quote from him talking about Title 42. He said, when Title 42 public health order is lifted, we anticipate migration levels will increase as smugglers will seek to take advantage of and profit from vulnerable migrants. The increase in migration being experienced by the United States is consistent with larger global trends. There are currently more people in the world displaced from their homes than any time since World War II, including in the Western Hemisphere. So obviously they're going to try to justify this as, you know, there's just a lot of people in the world, and where do they go? It's like, what, your plan is just to open the border, and that's okay? Law and order is completely gone.
Fun little way back Wednesday to 2 months ago when the Biden administration, through President Biden himself, told the whole world during the State of the Union we were going to build that border wall, baby. We were going to stop this from happening. Almost like we told you then that was a lie, and they actually weren't focused on that whatsoever. We actually covered this story this morning when I was on Newsmax at 6:30 in the morning, and they said something about these 6 pillars that I was just totally floored by. In the official language that came out from the White House about this plan, should Title 42 be allowed to be taken away, is that they are focused on upholding the law of immigration in America. At the very end, after they've said all of this stuff of what they want to do, they're very focused on upholding the rule of law in our country.
That's always great. It's interesting how that. It's interesting how that there was that border patrol guy that just drowned in the Rio Grande River, rescuing those what ended up being drug traffickers, and it's like, when there was a photo that made it kind of look like a guy on horseback was maybe whipping someone, which they found out they obviously weren't, and anybody with a couple of Ojos could see that was not the case. It's like, hello, do we not care about this guy dying? Do we not care about the drug traffickers? Of course they don't care about that. Are they going to give any sympathy for that? Absolutely not. Meanwhile, it's like, look over here, squirrel, Ukraine, whatever else is the issue of the day.
And wasn't Jen Psaki just asked in the last couple of weeks if they were going to apologize for calling those Border Patrol agents racist for the whipping and all that? That wasn't real. And didn't she say no?
Yeah, basically she was like, oh, I hoped you guys would forget about that. You guys didn't forget? Shoot.
Damn it,
Peter.
They took the horses away. They're just like, we're not going to have horseback people anymore.
Yeah,
like,
they're like, okay, you can be mall cop Border Patrol, apparently. We'll just take away your method of transportation.
It's like the best way to get around that rough terrain.
Exactly.
It's like, here's some bird scooters. Go get them.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
scan the QR code for the government to pay for it.
Oh, shoot.
No, they don't care. I mean, I think that's the simple answer.
Yes.
We have to stop operating in the assumption that everyone has good intentions. And that's really hard for us to admit. We want to believe that humanity is trying to benefit humanity, that our elected officials and those in charge are really trying to serve our country and benefit the whole country. They are not. They do not care about the infants being human trafficked and raped across the southern border. They do not care about the fentanyl coming into our country. By the way, teenage overdoses on drugs are at the highest point right now this year than ever before in our country. They just came out with that data today. So heartbreaking, largely because of fentanyl. They don't care about the illegal guns coming across the southern border, even though they can scream until they're blue in the face about gun control. And spoiler, they don't care about Ukraine either. They're just using that for political talking points today.
well, that's why they turn it into a humanitarian issue. That's it. They want to just like tear at your heartstrings. Like, look at all the people that are displaced. Like, people are struggling in the world, but there's also some bad people that are completely taking advantage of this situation here, and it's already worse for our country. It's not an America First policy at all. But we heard other news that Lord Fauci might be stepping down.
Beautiful.
Where was he the last 6 months?
wait. You know, it's one of those where
Wasn't he already gone? I mean, I feel like okay.
No, and it sounds like too. We're gonna show this tweet up here. So obviously, CNN Plus going downhill. But there was a little interview with Dr. Fauci, Lord Fauci himself. So Dr. Fauci tells me he doesn't want to leave his post until things are on a steady track, but adds, I think that's coming soon. Yeah, remember when they said 14 days to slow the spread? I'm sure it's going to be like, oh, you know, maybe a couple weeks I'll dip out.
Yeah.
No, it's going to be like 3,000 days of Lord Fauci. That's what it's going to turn into. He's never going to leave.
Well, the dirty little secret is the longer you stay in government, the bigger your pension for retirement is. So as long as he literally doesn't have to do any work and be a gremlin living under a bridge and just stay out of the public eye,
Wow.
why not stay in? I mean, he has an absolute incentive to stay in.
Yep.
Also, did you see that photo of him getting interviewed by CNN Plus?
Yeah, he looks like a little troll.
Yeah, he looks like he needs to.
Was not flattering, and I think he was thinking that was going to be a Zoom interview or something because he has the business on the top and then a party on below. Like he didn't think that part was going to be on camera. It's very bizarre.
I just want to see Will Ferrell just be like, I didn't know you had elves working here. It's like, wow,
He must be a
little tyrant here. But we're going to take a quick break and get a message from our friends at Patriot Mobile. We'll be right back to talk about Indoctrination Nation.
Yes, we're going to take your AR-15, your AK-47.
Abortion, I salute you! Women, if you need an abortion, get one! You said police defund!
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on to the next generation. Activate freedom. Join Patriot Mobile.
Welcome back to TPUSA Live. This is maybe my least favorite thing to talk about, furries. We got Isabel Brown, Alex Clark, funny guy, Bobby Sausalito. We talk about furries so much on this show, but I guess Texas second graders are going to be learning about furries and some subcultures that obviously need to get promoted a little bit more. So Austin Independent School District learned about youth subcultures from goths to furries and many more during their second week of April. One worksheet was titled Design Your Fursona. Oh my God.
What? What grade was this?
This is second grade.
Second grade?
Wow.
Okay, John, what would your fursona be?
I don't want to do this. I don't want to be a second grader. I don't want to be a 30-year-old. I don't even want to be on this earth when I read things like this.
Furries word search.
Wow.
Design your fursona.
They asked students whether their fursona is male, female, or non-binary.
No.
And they reportedly collected a furry's word search, as you see there. Holy crap, dude.
I'm sorry, are there actually animals that are non-binary? Anywhere? Does that exist
I don't think
anywhere
so.
outside of the
maybe a
minds of
worm.
humanity?
Maybe a worm because they don't really have a start and end. It all looks the same.
You chop them up and they just regrow. So maybe
I feel like how do you tell the difference between a male worm and a female worm? Like that's the only animal I can think of. You really wouldn't know, right?
Those are the answers.
Maybe
we
a
need.
snake. I don't know that you could anything like that. I don't know that you can
male
tell.
and female.
Really?
Yeah, because one of them has to lay the eggs.
I know, but when you're just looking at a snake or a worm, you can't see any genitalia.
Let me
Don't get
just
too close to
clarify.
those. I need to see. Hold on.
Hold on a minute.
Hold that venom.
Clarify, Alex. Would your fursona be a worm?
Probably. Well, they don't have any fur, so I guess that doesn't count. But like, you know, it's what's really disturbing about the whole like furry culture is that is the perfect. Like, if you really are a groomer, right, and you have like pedophilic tendencies towards children, getting them involved or to be sympathetic to furry culture is a really good way. It looks innocent. Like these are like animal characters and stuff, but the whole culture is very, very sexual. And it's really disturbing if you've ever read into like the furry get-togethers that they have these like conferences all over the country. There's a lot of underage kids there and a lot of adults that you cannot tell how old they are because they're in these costumes and it's super weird and disturbing. So the fact that they're introducing this to second graders is so insane to me. Like, I wouldn't agree with talking about this kind of stuff to any age. I guess if I had to say maybe I could kind of understand discussing this or this subject matter would maybe be like seniors in high school in a psychology class. If you're talking about youth subcultures and all this,
trends,
maybe then that would make sense to me. But in elementary school at all, this seems very, very sus.
Yeah, I remember in second grade, we would play and like pretend we were animals or something on the playground, but it never went to this level of like, now let's go to furry Comic-Con and dress up and be sexualized in second grade, which is super weird, and you're absolutely right. The whole furry subculture is very rooted in sexual identity and sexual preference and acting on those preferences. This is not your average dress up like your favorite cartoon character and go to Comic-Con situation. This is like ripe for sex trafficking, for really nefarious situations of children being taken advantage of sexually and otherwise, and a lot of other criminal behavior. So seems odd to me that they're talking about this to children in this fun little design your fursona way. It's very, very, very creepy, and ushers in, by the way, a whole new conversation of, if I can convince you that you have like this inner other identity that's not who you are, but it's your alternate persona,
Spirit
it is
animal,
so
if you will.
easy to convince a child your gender is also just a fake persona. Somebody bestowed that onto you. It's not really who you are.
Yep.
It's just bestiality. That's exactly what it is. Like, so what, that's what it is. Like, you start saying like, oh, you're an animal, and then like, where do they stop from there? It's like, you see so many people, they start to get over-sexualized. It's like, well, that's not enough. That's not enough. I don't know.
And look, I just want to clarify, if you're an adult and you want to dress up like an animal all day, every day, fine, whatever. I literally do not care. If you're a child that wants to pretend that you're an animal to play on the playground, whatever, do not care. There was that segment on Jesse Waters a couple of months ago with the lady who pretends that she's a wolf, and this is how she lets out steam in her stress. She goes into the woods and howls at the moon. You know what? More power to you, lady. I really don't care. When you try to have these conversations with second graders with a clear intention of why you're having that conversation, I have a huge problem.
Want to be single for the rest of your life? Pretend you're a wolf.
Yeah. I remember in fourth grade. I remember in fourth grade we had the sexual talk, and I remember my teacher was like sweating bullets, and he was talking about growing hair on your chest, and we were like giggling. We couldn't stop laughing. It was like the funniest thing we had ever heard in our entire life, and we were in fourth grade. Yeah. Imagine them teaching something like that in second. In second grade, I was like, "Where's the jungle green crayon in the box? Like, I just want to color today." It's insane that they want to do this with people that are so young.
They're
I don't understand.
6
What's
or
the
7.
angle? I don't understand what the angle is. What happened to just teaching them things that they could actually use?
Just let second graders sniff the markers,
Yeah,
all right?
sniff the
Just
glue.
let them.
Safety
We're just
scissors.
like, yeah, what flavor is that? Just let them eat the crayons, all right? Just grow up. This is insane. But also, too, there's an Illinois high school that has a white privilege test. Man, stuff that I really wish I had at elementary school, you know?
High school, but yeah.
In high school. Lake Forest High School students enrolled in a sociology class with Miss Cindy Collier and reportedly underwent an assignment titled White Privilege, unpacking the invisible backpack.
The invisible knapsack. I know what this is. Oh, good. This is exciting stuff. This
I've never heard of
was
this.
a big
Do tell.
thing
I
in
don't
my
know about that
college
either.
experience. Yes, indeed.
So I guess this was adapted from research on white privilege by anti-racist activist Peggy McIntosh. According to the test, students were told to answer yes, no to 25 different statements. So I'm going to give you a couple
tell
of
us
these.
what they are.
This is fun.
So here's question number 9, everybody.
Yes.
Whether I use checks, credit cards, or cash, I can count on my skin color not to work against the appearance of financial reliability.
I don't even understand that.
AKA, if you're black, they're not going to take your finances credibly because you're black.
I think any businesses now, post-pandemic, are happy to get any money that they can get. I don't think they care about it if it's a black customer or a white customer.
And then question number 5. When I'm told about our national heritage or about civilization, I am shown that people of my color made it what it is. And these are all yes or no questions.
I guess it just depends on the era. Like, our founding fathers were white, yes, but then you get into like the civil rights era, and you know, you learn about people like Rosa Parks and Ruby Bridges and things like that. Like, I would say they helped build society and culture where we are now today. So I guess it just depends on what they're talking about.
You're thinking very rationally, Alex. That is your mistake. So my sister, when she was in college at the same university that I went to, she's about to graduate 2 weeks. Go, Gabby, we love you. She was part of something called the President's Leadership Program, and you actually get a minor in leadership by the time you graduate from this thing. It's very prestigious to be accepted, and she had a full ride to the school, so that's why she ended up getting chosen for this thing. And they did an entire unit by unit breakdown of what I like to call Indoctrination 101, where they spent several months talking about race and several months talking about gender and several months talking about XYZ. And in the race unit, they read this unpacking the invisible knapsack thing, which I guess is now being taught in high school. Like we always say, it never stays on college campuses. It always goes back down. And she decided to have these rational thoughts and do the research and present rationalized arguments. And everyone, including the professor, started bawling their eyes out because of her white privilege college and her violence that she was bringing into the classroom. You know my sister, she would never hurt a fly.
Oh my gosh.
But this is the level that they are willing to go. They literally are telling college students, high school students, and now, as we even know, babies with books like Anti-Racist Baby.
Wow.
If you are black, you were always oppressed in this country, historically and today. You will not succeed because of the evil white people. And if white people decide to say, no, I don't think that's really accurate, they are violent.
So this last question we have here, question number 4. I can turn on the television or open the front page of the paper and see people of my race widely represented.
No, I don't. Actually, I don't. Every single time I watch TV now, a commercial or whatever, I never see white people anymore. It is always minorities. It's a gay couple. It's a black family. But it is hardly ever white people anymore. So that actually would not apply.
Also, Jake from State Farm used to be a white guy.
Oh,
and
yeah,
then, like,
anymore.
all of a sudden, it's just like, when did Jake become black?
Oh, that's
and it's
interesting.
like, that's okay?
They covered this at the comedy show we went to over the weekend.
I was so glad
Was that one of the opening comedians,
That
I
was
think?
great because I know one of Charlie Kirk's business guys, Jake Page, was at the show too. We actually were talking about that weeks ago. I was just like, I feel like with all, like I was watching March Madness and a few things where it seemed like everybody was just, black or a minority or just like a certain people group.
Think about
and
this.
It's like Jake from State Farm and
They didn't even announce it. They were just like, one day he was white Jake and the next day he was black Jake.
We had no say in the matter.
When do you ever see, though, like a family that is depicted as like white Christian conservative? That never ever
Unless they are
happens.
evil, they're the bad guys.
Yeah, unless they're the villains. I mean, it just.
I loved in the comedy show. It's like, name one black guy you know his name is Jake. It's just like, I don't know. Other than Jacob, but we won't talk about Blake.
He's
a hero.
No.
Woof. But something, too, I definitely want to mention while we're going over Indoctrination Nation. Governor DeSantis always has an answer for all this stuff. So in 2022 or 2023, 2024, there's going to be a graduation requirement for high school students to make sure that they have financial literacy.
Great idea.
That's your state, baby.
Yeah, Florida, look at us, leading the way.
Leading the way.
America's
That's
best
awesome.
governor. You gotta love it.
So, and then there's going to be lessons on credit scores, managing credit card debt, types of bank accounts to open, and how to file your taxes. Stuff that we actually should learn. But
Something I still don't know really fully. None of us do, let's be honest. We just kind of fill out the form and pray the IRS doesn't be like, I don't know.
Yeah.
What's that knock on the door?
That's a thing, is being financially free is almost equally as important as being just free in general.
Yeah.
Because your ability to navigate your way through life without being encumbered and to be able to really reach your full potential depends on this. So here he is creating yet again more freedom, not only mental freedom, but financial freedom. And that is what America represents. He's doing the things that we need young kids to be able to have access to.
Because I know we talk about it on this show. Charlie talks about it, other contributors, other conservatives across the country saying, like, college is probably not worth it for a lot of you. So, but when you leave high school, are you actually prepared to go into the real world? Or you might go into a trade school or something like that. If you don't learn about taxes, what credit is, how to buy a home, what's it like to get a lease of a car or buy a car, things like that. If you don't know, you're just going to have the next generation that's completely dependent on somebody else because the high schools did not lead them in the right direction and build them up. So
That's exactly true.
I love Florida.
It's a failure in the education system. It's like we've failed the kids in so many ways, and not necessarily us, but in general, society has failed the young kids so much, with not only the masks in schools and that extending way beyond what was reasonable, especially considering the statistics, and not teaching them things that actually matter, like the types of food to eat, how to exercise properly, teaching them how to do yoga when they're younger, how to be mentally fit, and how to be financially free. It's like the fact that this was never taught in school represents a massive failure, and it's no shortage of money. There's plenty of money that's going around, yet here we are, not knowing. People that went to college, people with college degrees, not knowing how to use it, not knowing what a credit score is or how significant it is. And yet that will determine how financially free you'll be throughout your entire life. It's like, here's a real objective thing that, how are we not talking about this even now?
I want to give a massive shout out to our defensive coordinator when I played football at Azusa Pacific. We had these things called life classes during the off season. And he taught us these things.
That's
Like,
awesome.
where did I learn about this stuff? It's from my football coach, because he told us you're at a Division II school, and there's maybe a couple you guys that might be able to make it in the league on a practice squad or maybe make a roster. The rest of you guys, you're done after this. That's it. So here's how you build up your family. Here's how you build up your credit score. Here's how you buy a home. Here's how you fix a car. All of these things where it's like, you guys need to be built up as men, and this is how you go about it. And it's crazy to think that I learned this stuff from my football coach.
That's
that was it.
awesome.
And there was nobody in high school or college that actually taught me those things. But
it's discipline. They teach you discipline. Like when I played football in high school, he taught me more about discipline and consistency and being able to reap the rewards from that. And financial discipline is just as important. So it's not a surprise to me that that is the case, but good for him.
We got the Student Action Summit coming up very, very soon, right after YWLS. TPUSA.com/SAS is where you can get tickets, get registered, but this will definitely get you pumped up. Don't go anywhere. We got What in the World Wednesday coming up next.
Calling all based patriots, meme lords, and conservatives, Student Action Summit is happening 2022, Tampa, Florida, July 22nd through the 24th. You don't want to miss it. You'll make lifelong friends, you'll probably meet your soulmate, and you'll be able to network with the biggest names in the conservative movement. Sign up now on TPUSA.com.
Meme lords. You want to meet your significant other? Go to SAS, I guess. Boom.
Endorsed.
Let's go. TPUSA.com/SAS. You can use promo code Isabel. You use promo code Alex or Politics, right?
Yep.
And then you can use promo code John, the best one. Boom, baby. All right, definitely do that. What the World Wednesday? Where's Joe Bob?
Not here. I'll have to send him this segment.
Yeah, we got to send him this. He absolutely hates that. For anybody that's just tuning in, you haven't watched What in the World Wednesday, TPUSA contributor Joe Bob hates What in the World Wednesday.
It's the best. I love
it's
it.
awesome. And it's weird. But I guess we're going to start with this first one. Sometimes I purposely don't watch these at all because I just want to be surprised. And I am not surprised with the craziness. So I guess this trans man's got birth control.
I had a gynecologist appointment today to get an Explanon implant in my arm, and which is birth control, by the way. And my gynecologist is usually pretty respectful. I've only had 2 appointments, but she's respected me as a trans person.
You know, if I was going to become transgender, I can tell you what I wouldn't do. I would not have that little trash stash.
Agreed.
That
Agreed.
looks so
It's
bad.
Very, very trashy.
Also, a dead giveaway you're not a real man. I'm just saying, like, I would just be clean shaven. That is awful.
Like you thought about this.
Yeah, like,
ahead of time.
That's really bothersome.
You know they're making male birth control pills now. It is almost on the market. They're testing them on humans now because the tests were 99% successful on mice. So this will be interesting. I'm anxious to see how this rolls out.
Equality. Finally.
Bobby, I really hope we don't get pregnant, man.
I know.
I can't handle that right now.
I Googled it and it said that we could, so I'm concerned.
Netflix agrees too, so while we're at it.
I'll tell you what, the amount of Chipotle I'm eating, I kind of do look pregnant at times.
You can use your emoji now
use the
to
emoji.
express.
We're represented now, thankfully.
Bless
It's been so long.
This next one, Megan Fox apparently likes to drink her significant other's blood.
It is used for a reason, and it is controlled where it's like, let's shed a few drops of blood and each drink it. He's much more haphazard and hectic and chaotic, where he's willing to just like cut his chest open with broken glass and be like, take my soul, let me bleed on you. It doesn't not happen, let me tell you. Maybe not exactly like that, but a version of that has happened.
No.
So in honor of Megan Fox,
All right.
we took an intern's blood because they couldn't say
We cut their
anything
chest
about
open
it.
with broken glass.
Do you do this just like wine? Do a little swirl and sniff?
Yeah.
Yep.
I say you just
Cheers.
take it like a shot, baby.
And the intern said, "Take my soul."
Pretty fruity.
That is a delight.
That's O positive, no doubt. Yeah. Thank you.
I have hints of AB blood type.
Right? I was gonna say.
This is a troubling clip that this is actually something that these people are talking about in public, like we were saying offline. It's like, this is just what they tell you. This is what they're out there telling you what really happens.
Yeah.
Imagine what actually happens. I wouldn't want to be a fly in the wall in that particular room.
Can I just throw an unpopular opinion out there?
No, we're going to go to the next one.
We love
it. Go for it.
I think this is sexy. No, I'm joking. That's not the unpopular opinion. The unpopular opinion is I think this is all a stunt. I don't actually think they do that. If you guys remember in the early 2000s when Angelina Jolie did the same thing with Billy Bob Thornton on the red carpet, they were wearing vials of each other's blood or whatever. I just think it's a joke. Like, I just think it's an edgy joke, and they're really playing into it because they get press like this. That's my unpopular opinion.
I think that's a fair.
Interesting.
I think it's a fair estimate.
But it's just trying to look like this punk rock thing. I mean, they've dominated the pop culture headline now for like 18 hours. So I think it's a strategy.
Well, whether it's a strategy or not, it's a weird strategy.
Yes.
And we were talking about this earlier. When I was like young, like a child still, was when Megan Fox really started her whole Transformers situation. And I was telling Bobby, for most young men my age, she was really like a sex icon. Like, she was the reason people had this awakening of I'm not a kid anymore, basically.
I was transformed. I really
in
was.
more ways than
way more than
just the
Optimus Prime.
movies.
She could really fix
But
the car.
she was like the peak image of this is what a beautiful woman is supposed to be. And in just a few short years, really, by all the time this is said and done, how this arc has transformed from that to I drink the blood of my vanquished sexual partner. It's a little weird.
What we
It's
didn't
weird.
realize at the time is that her movie Jennifer's Body was actually a biopic.
It's weird.
I don't think anyone knew that at the time.
I don't think any
She's like a vampire
young
lady.
man would look at Megan Fox today and be like, you are it. Like, you are an icon.
Yeah, that's a hard pass, I think.
I don't think any rationally thinking young man is like, please cut my chest open with broken glass so you can drink my blood.
I do think you're
Not
right
on the
about
first
that,
date.
though.
Yeah.
I think you're right about that, about it being because you're right. It works successfully.
Mhm.
Here we are talking about it. Although I will say, I bet there still are some rituals. I think they're probably doing a couple of rituals.
No doubt. I think they send blood. I don't even think they probably do more.
You think?
Yeah, I think so. I think they go for it. But it's funny to see how Transformers, after Megan Fox left, just went downhill.
Oh, yeah,
and then
true.
she went downhill with them. The Decepticons just took over. Okay, there's a woman screaming in the street, I guess. Check it out. Oh.
Babies are being murdered.
I will continue screaming. Would you like that? Because I'm actually finding it really, really relaxing.
Well, why don't you explain to me why what I'm doing?
They don't. They cannot speak. They just make noises like that. It's super peak mental illness.
Yeah. Was she in Florida when they ended up signing the bill on the law?
Why do they always look like that? I don't
I
understand.
know.
It's like they have a uniform. There's like, you have to look like this
Uniform.
crazy person.
Yeah, do you remember when, like, you know, you could look like whatever you wanted to, whatever made you happy? I don't know that that's really the unspoken rule these days. I think you have to follow the uniform. But hey, if she's screaming because babies are being aborted, all about it. I will scream with you, girl. So let's join forces there.
Man, so I know Costco is usually one of my favorite places. They obviously
Favorite place?
Yeah,
Yes,
because
it's
they had
capitalist heaven.
Of all places?
Yes.
It's great.
If a zombie apocalypse came tomorrow, the first place I would go is Costco. I would bring a ton of guns. I would bring Paige Rue, probably. And I would secure a Costco, probably in like Alaska, where it would be hard for the zombies to get, and I would survive for a very long time.
Oh, that's a good idea, actually.
And then they got free samples all over the place.
Yeah, it's a fun date night.
That's a good.
I actually have been on a date to a Costco. It was a very
See?
good time.
It's
Did you
actually
eat the
fun.
hot dogs?
Are you still together?
No shot. no, I dropped that one like third period French. I did, yeah.
Oh, no parlez-vous français.
Oh, bon voyage. Thanks for the memories. But we know that there was a mask policy at Costco for way too long. And there's still people that are wearing masks at Costco, some crazy mask libs that are pepper spraying Costco employees.
Hell yeah.
Check it out. Hell yeah.
It started. Oh my goodness!
Stop. Get away. I'll walk you here. My life. You don't need to do that. You don't need to do this.
come get your dad, bro.
Yeah.
Like, whose dad is out there acting
I
like
feel like
that?
his name is like Steve or something, obviously. Was he wearing a face shield on top of his mask, too?
That's so embarrassing. You don't really see, like, older men acting like that. Like, that's, like, the Karen version of, an old man. Like, you don't really see that.
I love the Costco employee that had that scanner. Like, he's armed and
Yeah,
dangerous
yeah.
almost, just like, watch out.
Yeah.
I wonder where that was. Do we know?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what Costco that was at.
It's very weird.
Hopefully not the one here in Phoenix, Arizona.
That was
or
probably
Scottsdale.
in like New York or New Jersey or something.
Yeah. What's crazy is like that guy would get dropped by that other guy, and that other guy didn't look like he was much of a fighter, but he could have. That other guy is an old man.
He could have
shouldn't be pushing anybody. Should be a little bit more.
Or,
further
you know,
along
if
by
you have
then.
such a problem, just don't go to Costco.
Yeah, just hold those
Yeah.
papers.
Just stay at home.
Just get your
Order from
groceries.
Costco.com.
Yeah,
They will
that's the thing.
deliver the
Get them
groceries.
delivered.
You'll have a
Why?
hot dog. You'll have a $1 hot dog and
Chill
calm
out.
down.
And a churro. And
Yeah,
you'll
churro,
feel much
let's be
better.
serious, yeah.
Amen to that. So, looks like we got an LGBTQ teacher indoctrinating his classroom with all these decorations.
Sweet.
To the conservative news source that wrote an article about me that seemed really focused on the flags I have in my classroom, there's a couple of things you missed actually in here. The first thing you missed is all 13 principles of the Black Lives Matter movement hung up at the top of my wall here, because I want my students to know that that flag is not just a decoration, but that we actually live out these principles in our everyday life. You definitely missed my smaller posters, including this one about getting vaccinated, about voting, all these ones I have from Jay Salazar that are Black historical figures.
I wish I was a dad right now so bad.
If
I would storm in there. I'm ripping all those down.
Yeah, which principle says invest in a mansion in Los Angeles so that you can have a creative space? Which principle is that? I forgot.
If I went to hell, I think this is what my version of hell would look like.
Yeah.
Is this classroom, day in and day out for eternity.
It's just getting harder for me to sympathize with parents, conservative parents that are still sending their kids to public schools. It's just getting harder for
Yep.
me
Yeah.
to feel bad.
I agree.
I just feel like we really can't. We know what's going on. It's been exposed time and time again. Like, it's time to start making some other decisions.
What would you tell parents that would maybe be on the other side, say like, I can't afford private school, or I can't like homeschool?
You
kids
can
or-
homeschool. You can homeschool. There are so many resources for you to homeschool as a single parent, as a full-time working parent. I'm telling you, there are hundreds of people across the United States that do it. They will
Thousands.
teach you how to do it. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. Of course, it's not easier, but isn't it worth it? Isn't it worth it? Is what I would say. Even if that means that you make your own schedule as a homeschool mom. Even if that means you have to do it on Saturdays. On Saturday mornings is when you do school. Then you do school on Saturday mornings, but you have to figure that out.
Homeschool doesn't also always mean like sitting at the kitchen counter with your kids. There's like
Yeah.
homeschool church groups. On the flip side of all of this with parents, teachers are quitting schools because they say, I am not going to teach my kids this crap. And they're working as private tutors or homeschool co-ops. And so there are a ton of options out there available to you. Do not fall for the lie that the only option available to you is to drop your kid off at 8 and pick them up at 3 from a government building.
Yeah, I hope the entrepreneurs of the world take notice of this and realize that this is a massive opportunity for tutors to go and do small groups, just like you do like a CrossFit course or something like that. There's 15 people in a room doing
That's happening,
CrossFit.
yeah.
That's how it should be.
Yeah,
There should be
it's
small
co-ops,
groups.
homeschool co-ops.
Exactly.
That really took off with COVID. Obviously, they created like study groups for kids that were doing everything
Yep.
online. And then with all of this, so many parents have decided to invest in that. It's really, really, really cool to see. It's basically like a one-room schoolhouse, how things used to be not that long ago in our nation's history. The way we consider education is really within the last 100 years, if we think about it that way. So if we can get back to our roots, maybe we'll be more prepared, we'll be more educated. Students will actually learn things of value like financial literacy and financial freedom. And you actually have a much greater opportunity for success when you homeschool. Your higher grades, you have higher test scores, you're
Yeah.
more likely to succeed
They have higher
as an
ACT and
entrepreneur.
SAT scores.
Yep, and they can finish school at like 15 or 16 and then make the decision to go to college there. That happens all the time. So it's usually a much better option.
You could probably do it in a fraction of the time, too.
Mhm.
I remember so much time at school was squandered on empty periods and classes that were nothing, that I learned absolutely nothing from. And you cheat your way through a lot of it. I bet you could do just as much education in half the time.
Probably, yeah.
So.
Do you think you want to put your kids in public school?
I would want to send them to private school. I'd want to send them to a Christian school.
You know, I will say, that's a good answer. I went to Catholic high school. By the time I left and my sister was still there, she graduated in 2020 from a very prominent Catholic high school in Denver. It was the exact same woke crap for lack of a better word.
is
They had to
scary.
follow all the trans stuff. In her AP Spanish class, they literally had to say Trump es una racista in order to get an A. Trump is
does
a
that mean?
racist to get an
What?
A in AP Spanish. Like, it is just as bad. And I say this to parents all the time because they're unaware. They think, oh, my kid goes to Christian school, so it should be fine, or my kid goes to Catholic school, so it should be fine. This is happening in every single brick and mortar school in America at some level, be it one teacher or institutionally across the
Wow.
entire school. So please take the time to educate yourself about the curriculum that your kids are learning, because otherwise you are literally dropping their future and their identity and their brain into the hands of someone who may have very nefarious motives to mold and shape who that person is going to be every single day.
Well, and that's why I feel like I would hold a Christian school just like I'd hold my church to a certain standard.
Mhm.
Or like, I'm not going to continue going to a church that's going to start buying into social justice compared to biblical justice. And then if I'm going to have my kids spend more time with teachers and administrators than they do me during the day, if I'm working a lot or something like that, obviously I'd like them to spend the most time with mom.
Yeah.
And I think that would be unbelievably beneficial. But I would make sure that they are teaching the right stuff.
Mhm.
I mean, specifically, too, it's like I want my kids to learn the foundation of the Bible before anything else. And then anything that they try to justify needs to be look back at the Word, and that's the education that I'd want. I went in and out. I went to some Christian schools, and I went to public school, Christian school, and then I did public school, junior high through high school. And I mean, but back then, it's like, dude, politics were not a part of life at all. I graduated in 2010 from high school, and I was like, and then also too, like social media wasn't a huge thing. It was like you had to go back home in junior high, get on MSN Messenger.
Yeah.
It's like, no way I'd talk to that chick in person at school, but you know what, MSN Messenger for sure was good.
Instagram
I was a
came
baller
out.
on the keyboard, but
Yeah.
in person, the worst.
Instagram came out, I think, my freshman year of high school, or maybe 8th grade going into freshman year, but it really just became like a thing where everybody was on Instagram the end of my freshman year of high school. And I recently found out there's this feature that you can go back and see all of the posts that you liked in reverse order, so from oldest to newest. And I went back and looked at all the posts that I liked when I was a freshman in high school. It was like One Direction and that one camera filter where all the corners were black that everybody put on all their pictures. It was a very good time down memory lane.
We're gonna go through this last one. So a transgender is yelling at you not to pick the gender of your kid.
A lot of anti-abortion advocates are also seemingly really into the idea of finding out their child's sex really early on. And I think this is because of this like underlying cultural idea that gender confers humanity. And, you know, if you're against people aborting fetuses, you need to construct them as like fully people.
What?
Again, I don't understand, like, if you're gonna be trans, then you're trans, but you want to look like you're the least attractive as possible. Like, I don't understand
I think
the
that's
lack
probably
of trying.
a non-binary look, actually.
That's
No,
Pat
I'm serious,
from
though.
SNL. Does anybody remember Pat?
Oh
It's
my
Pat.
Yeah.
It's Pat. I don't know. No? Anybody remember that? No? You
Yep.
remember that? Pat?
Yeah,
There's a lot to
nailed it.
unpack from this video, but the two things I will say, number one, there's this assumption gender confers humanity. Gender does confirm and confer humanity. It
Yes,
does.
that's right.
Your gender and your biology shapes literally every single thing about your identity, how you respond to stress, who you are attracted to, what you're going to be passionate about, what food you want to eat, what your mood looks like every day. Yeah, so that absolutely contributes not only to your individual humanity, but the humanity of people across the globe as a whole. If you pretend that gender doesn't, that's where we start to get into really serious societal issues like what we're seeing right now. And second of all, this obsession with using the word fetus to try to pretend that a baby who hasn't been born is not a baby. Fetus in Latin literally means human, so small human.
You know what I really cannot rationalize as a true crime aficionado is that I think about on a regular basis, you know, the worst possible ways to die. It's just something that I think about, and like, you know, if I go missing, how my
Megan Fox
family
was
and
on the
friends
couch.
find
I know,
me.
Megan.
Well, listen
Sorry.
though, but I think about this kind of stuff, and I think about the fact that like transgender people, okay, if you are burned alive or something happens where, you know, you're missing for a long time, and so you're what's that called whenever your body like goes
Decompose.
Yes,
yeah.
and you're totally decomposed where it's only your bones left. You can only look at somebody's bones and see that they were a male or a female. But if you're living life through this like weird non-binary thing, or you're trans or whatever, how's anybody going to be able to identify you? That's another thing that's really weird to me. How does nobody think about that?
I was actually talking to some friends about that the other day. It's like, man, it's so insensitive for them not to ask the skeleton what they identify as.
Yeah, like in evolution class in elementary school, they talk about Lucy, which was like the last thing before humans. It's pretty rude that you assumed Lucy's gender to be a girl. Yeah.
Oh, we live in a crazy world, people. Well, we're going to take a quick break, get a message from our friends at Freedom Square, and Sebastian Gorka be back for one
right, guys,
last thing.
you have signed up, right? You've joined freedomsquare.com. If you haven't, why not? This should have happened a decade ago. How did somebody not think of this earlier? If you're a business owner, we have a business directory to promote your business to patriots across the nation. So if you want to buy American, if you want to sell American, we have a business directory. Whatever it is, go now.
Join us in the fight for freedom. Welcome to Freedom Square.
Boom, we're at TPUSA HQ in Phoenix, Arizona. Isabel Brown, Alex Clark, funny guy, Bobby Sausalito. It's going to be the last time I get to say that, right?
Yeah, hopefully it's the last time.
He's like, please, John.
Just
I'm
want
not
people to
that
know
funny.
Bobby's funny.
I do appreciate it. I sincerely do.
And I mean, I like to think I'm a funny guy, but I'm not the funny guy. I'm John Root. So we got some breaking news that happened a little bit earlier today. The Biden administration, Department of Homeland Security, wow, there's a massive influx of migrants at the border, everything that we need to worry about with inflation. This is what they're doing. They're going to create a disinformation governance board dedicated to countering misinformation. So this is via the post-millennial, and this comes, of course, after Elon Musk owns Twitter.
I don't understand how this is constitutional.
Great question, Alex. Is it?
It just seems like a huge free speech counter.
It is.
So I don't really understand this. And, you know, so what? Our tax dollars are going to go towards this now?
Well,
That's great.
here is the problem with the constitutionality argument. You're right, it probably is blatantly unconstitutional. I haven't read the founding documents of how they decided to make this thing or any of the official statements yet. I just saw the tweet that they had created this, so I gotta go do some more research. But the problem with making a constitutional argument is it has to be defensive, it can never be offensive. So somebody is going to have to sue the Biden administration for violating free speech with a very specific example of how this did that. Then it has to work its way all the way up through the court system to the Supreme Court. If they decide to take it, and they take less than 1% of all cases that are given to them, then they have to rule on that, and that's when we'll know if it's constitutional
Will
or
this
not.
be easy to repeal for another president?
Yeah, totally. I mean,
Okay,
if we
good.
elect somebody back in, they can just say, yeah, we're done with that. That happens all the time. But it's very scary to know that they're freaking out so substantially about one platform that isn't even in the top 5 most used platforms saying we're going to stand for free speech again. And that is the modern town square. That is where we issue our public opinions today. Now they're going to go full George Orwell 1984.
So what are they going to do then? This is what I don't understand. So, like, what do you think they'll do if they see disinformation?
Put some sort of label on it, probably, like
They
the
can force
CDC
Twitter to
ones.
do that?
Probably temporarily.
Arguably, yeah, probably.
Wow.
They could say, they can threaten them with stuff, right? So they could say, we'll take away tax statuses, or we'll penalize you in some way because you're breaking the law, even though this isn't a law. This is completely non-legislative.
I wonder what Congresswoman AOC thinks about this, because she drives a Tesla. She obviously is a fan. So now what does she think about all this, you know?
They start eating themselves. Probably something that Megan Fox does too.
Yeah.
Woof. But I think,
funny guy.
Yeah, thanks, man. Right, I got the last segment with you. I'm trying to be as funny as possible.
Oh my
That was
God.
good. I like that one.
But this is just a real take here. Is we're hearing so much about how Twitter's getting exposed about the New York Post article, and how there's going to be a lot more information. And you brought this up earlier, how a lot of these photos of Hunter Biden, just absolutely just getting after the Parmesan, and it's going to be maybe all over Twitter now. And you're not going to be able to censor those things. It's, if you want to share those, you go for it. And now you hear stuff like that, they could label it as misinformation. And then they're just like toying with people now. They don't want it to be free speech at all. They don't want you to be sending out whatever your thoughts are, because I think in general, we talked about this the other day, throw a thought out there and just let the public decide what they want to do.
Well, it would be the closest related thing to the actual real world. There's no arbiter of truth in the real world. You have to be able to filter and have discernment for yourself. And somebody can lie to you, and it's not illegal for them to lie to you. It is in certain situations. So if this was to actually be, as Elon is saying, the impact on humanity really going forward is tremendous. I think yesterday it kind of registered with me how significant of a move this actually would be if it truly was only to the letter of the law as it relates to language, how important that could be for human society.
You know, I didn't even think about this as a reactionary defensive thing for the Biden administration. But speaking of things being all over Twitter, in the last 48 hours, I've seen countless articles about the 10% for the big guy that all of a sudden is factual information now that there's $5 million of unaccounted income reported by President Joe Biden. They don't know where that came from. They have no idea how he received that money. And it's confirmed that he paid off some of his son's business dealings with China. That was just within the last 48 hours. I know everybody kind of talked about that in the shadows for the last several years, but it was always misinformation. You have no idea what you're talking about. We're going to censor those posts or even take down your account. Now that those things have come to the surface, all of a sudden we need a disinformation branch of the Department of Homeland Security. Seems really sus to me.
Yep.
No,
it's huge.
Another thing, too, I want to touch on, it seems like there's an influx of followers for a lot of conservative accounts. I know that Dave Rubin talked about this quite a bit, Clay Travis, other prominent conservatives are saying, it seems like ever since Elon took over, we're getting a lot more followers. And then actually there was a statement Wednesday to the Daily Caller that said this. We're going to throw up that still for you, this quote. We've been looking into recent fluctuations in follower counts while we continue to take action on accounts that violate our spam policy, which can affect follower counts. These fluctuations appear to largely have been a result of an increase in new account creation and deactivation.
Spam policy. I would love to see the definition of that within your corporate terms.
I mean, Elon isn't technically in charge. He's not technically in charge yet, so I think they're trying to, delete a bunch of stuff before he gets in charge, and so they deleted some sort of shadow ban thing, so all these followers popped up for conservatives.
Exactly, and then I know Dave Rubin was saying, isn't it interesting, Twitter, that you have the New York Times that has 50 million followers and they only get like dozens of retweets on stuff? Like, can you explain that? It's an interesting time, but I'm definitely glad that Elon's taken over. It's going to be an interesting time. We will see you guys tomorrow. Goodbye.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard today's edition of Human Events Daily, powered by Turning Point USA. Today's April 26, 2022, Anno Domini. Today's headlines: Durham has subpoenaed the Clinton campaign, the DNC, and dropped hundreds of emails with members of the media. We're going to dig into this. Next, the Twitter board has accepted the billionaire buyout offer from Elon Musk. All the latest headlines and the wailing and gnashing of teeth. Third, a new video just released shows Alec Baldwin pointing his gun at the camera on the set of his film Rust. And finally, a federal judge is temporarily blocking the Biden administration from lifting Title 42 COVID border restrictions for migrants. All this and more ahead, Human Events Daily.
The biggest scandal was when they spied on my campaign. They spied on my campaign.
Well, there's no
Leslie.
real evidence of that.
Of course there is.
No.
It's all over the place. Leslie,
Sir,
they spied on my campaign and they got caught.
Can I say something? You know, this is 60 Minutes, and we can't put on things we can't verify.
You won't put it on because it's bad for Biden.
We can't
Look,
put on things we can't verify.
Leslie, they spied on my campaign.
Well, we can't verify
It's been totally
that.
verified.
No.
It's been, just go down and get the papers. They spied on my campaign, they got caught.
No.
And then they went much further than that, and they got caught. And you will see that, Leslie, and you know that, but you just don't want to put it on the air.
As a matter of fact, I don't know that.
Okay.
Special Counsel Durham just filed a motion in response to the efforts of Hillary for America, Fusion GPS, and everyone else to keep secret their communications involving Fusion GPS. Technofog, of course, has it up on his Substack. I don't know how many times I got to tell you this. You need to be reading Technofog. If you're not reading Technofog, you're doing it wrong. He don't post every day, but when he does post, he brings the receipts, and that's what we've got here specifically. This is massive. So what we're seeing now, and this is all about that Sussman case. So Sussman's going to trial over the allegation, right, the accusation, the indictment, the charge from Durham that he lied to the FBI about who he was working for. The fact is, he went to the FBI, tried to get them to launch this investigation of President Trump's campaign, but told them that he wasn't doing all of this. He wasn't spreading all of these false allegations because he was working for the Hillary campaign. No. He told the FBI specifically in writing, and the last time we talked about this, we showed you that text message from Sussman, where he said in writing to James Baker, the general counsel of the FBI, that he was not working for any client when he did this, all right? Here's the problem. Not only was he working for the Clinton campaign and working with the DNC and working with this guy, Rodney Jaffa, he was doing a lot of work for them. And so that's what Durham is going to do. He's going to pile mountains and mountains of evidence to show the judge and show the jury in this case that obviously he was doing work. But what's interesting to us is because through the discovery process and what he's now releasing, right, which is in conjunction with that, he's getting access to all of the Fusion GPS emails. How is he getting access to the emails? Because he needs to look into what the scope of the work was. So because he's looking into the scope of the work, he's pulling together all the Fusion GPS emails, which also means, ladies and gentlemen, he is investigating. Finally, we have someone investigating Fusion GPS. And this indictment, this information right here is so bombshell, so blockbuster. I'm even thinking we might have to do an entire special all about Durham because of what this shows. This shows you the actual behind-the-scenes information about how the media works. You've got emails here from Franklin Foer. He was at the Slate at the time. Now he's at Atlantic. You've got Wall Street Journal. You've got the Washington Post. You've got all, believe me, tons and tons of emails with New York Times, ABC, the rest of it. Here's what they're doing. They're getting the story from Fusion GPS and they're shopping it around. They're shopping the story around to all their buddies in media. These people aren't investigators. They're regurgitators. They're people who are getting this false information from Fusion GPS. And this is where it starts. These little emails, these little pings. Hey, buddy, just heard something bad about Trump and Russia. Hey, there's this document. Might be coming. We got some spies, big time stuff. His name's Chris Steele. Can't wait to see it. That's how they were working it. And these media characters, these clowns, they just run with it. They straight up run with it. And we know what they did. We know that they took this information and they didn't vet it. They didn't do any work. At one point, a guy at the Washington Post says, well, I've got a source in Moscow that says, well, this stuff is all BS. It's not real. But they ended up running the story anyway. This shows you that all of corporate media is a house of cards. This shows you what journalism is in America today. They got the documents. They got a story and a narrative that fit their preconceived biases, and they decided to run with it, every single one of them.
You own all of Twitter or Facebook or what have you. You don't have to explain yourself. You don't even have to be transparent. You could secretly ban one party's candidate or all of its candidates, all of its nominees, or you could just secretly turn down the reach of their stuff and turn up the reach of something else, and the rest of us might not even find out about it till after the election. Elon Musk says this is all to help people because he is just a free speech, philosophically clear, open-minded helper.
Absolute breakdowns coming down on MSNBC. It's kind of amazing, by the way, if you actually listen to the things that Ari Melber is saying there, he's acting as if those things don't already exist. He's acting as if the New York Post story about Hunter Biden's laptop was not censored across all of social media in October of 2020. It was the great October surprise of 2020, right? This huge information, massive bombshell story, and it was censored across all. It was censored on Twitter, and it was censored on Facebook. In fact, Andy Stone, this vice president over at Facebook, even tweeted at the time saying that Facebook would conduct an internal independent investigation and see if he would actually find what was going on, but they would limit the reach of the story until that point. Never once followed up on that, never once investigated anything. I've still got copies, by the way, Andy Stone of Facebook, of the hard drive. I'd be more than happy to give you a copy. The offer still stands, by the way, as it is. If anybody would like a copy from mainstream media, one of these outlets, Elon Musk, do you want a copy of the Hunter Biden hard drive? Because here's what's going to happen next, right? And yes, of course it is a day for celebration when someone does something like this and takes a stand for freedom of speech and is willing to put $44 billion on the line in order to do so. That is a world historic event. Look, Elon Musk was probably already going to be in the history books. Now he's definitely going to be there for all the things that he's doing, not just for Tesla, not just for SpaceX, but also for this. And will it be successful? That's the question. It will be successful if they actually let Elon Musk run the company as it should be run. Twitter could be very profitable. That's never been one of the motives of the people. If you notice, Twitter ads are terrible. They don't work right. They don't let you sign up correctly. They don't tag people, the way they're supposed to. That's the way, social media makes money, is off of ads. You go on some of the other platforms, they work great. They work really, really well. They serve things up to you that are directly in line with your interests. Twitter's never done that. Why? Because Twitter, and I said this with Lou Dobbs yesterday, Twitter has been a censorship and disinformation distribution platform for the far left for a long time. Twitter has essentially been under occupation from Tumblr. Now, what was Tumblr? Tumblr was this far fringy internet cesspool where a lot of these things like woke ideology, and we talked about Glee and the fandoms and different things that inculcated this type of online social justice warrior, that spread out and invaded and occupied the institution of Twitter, the company of Twitter. And now Jack Dorsey, very interestingly, had a thread where he was talking about how much he celebrated Elon Musk taking over Twitter. And something that he said on there that really struck with me, he said, I think Twitter as an idea is good, but Twitter as a company doesn't work. So what does that mean? He said, Twitter is the closest thing that we have to social consciousness or shared consciousness, because Twitter is just this open, universal sandbox. But he's also talked, and I said this again, I've been saying this a lot, I said it with Navarro, I said it with Dobbs, that Twitter should be open source. It should be a protocol. Well, what does that mean? Well, think about it. Text messaging is a protocol, right? The internet in general, communications in general, are protocols. So if I've got a Verizon phone and someone else has T-Mobile, or if I have an iPhone and my friend has a Samsung, we can still communicate because we have shared protocols with which to communicate, right? That's just the protocol. That doesn't control anything about the content, right? You can send what you send, and across platforms. So if you break Twitter up as a protocol and think of it as a service with a protocol, right? Go with me on this. Then all of these other social media platforms out there, whether it be Getter, whether it be Truth Social, they can exist. And if you don't want to sign up for the Twitter service, you don't have to. Then you can go over to Getter if you like that one better. You can go to Truth Social if you like that one better. You can be there, but still be able to communicate. This is key. Communicate with people on Twitter, and people on Twitter would be able to communicate back with you using it as a protocol. Then how would these companies exist? Well, it would be based on advertisers, based on ad revenue, the same way that most media works, right? It's simple as that. That's where the actual direction of this stuff should go. And so I applaud the fact that Dorsey's talking about that. But at the same time, for Mr. Musk, they are going to come after you. The regime is going to strike back. Do you think they're just going to let you have freedom of speech back? It ain't going to be that easy. They're going to look at SpaceX. They're going to look at Tesla. SEC is going to be involved, all the contracts, everything else. So pay attention and get ready because they are about to go to battle.
It was a very tight shot. Okay. The shot was here, of me, not of me, it's of me pulling the gun slowly, turn cock. Okay. And she's right there, vulnerable, in a position she wouldn't ordinarily be if we were shooting, and this thing, boom, she hits the ground.
Alec Baldwin back in the news. And so we've got new footage that's been released from the Santa Fe Sheriff's Office regarding this case, the shooting death of Helena Hutchins, the cinematographer on his film Rust. By the way, this happened all the way back in October. So it's been almost 6 months now since this has happened. No charges yet on Mr. Baldwin. So what we've got is a little piece of the video from that interview. Only about 1:47 has been released that we've seen. And so what Human Events, we're attempting to reach out to the sheriff's office to see if they'll actually release to us the entire video. I want to see the whole thing. I want to hear every word that Alec Baldwin had to say early on in this clip. And what we've seen so far, he's rambling. He's talking about Jason Lee. He's talking about wads. He's talking about all sorts of things. But we really want to drill down and see what he said, because there's another video they released of him actually, I don't think it's the shot where he's pointing it at her and then pulls the trigger and then it fires and then shoots her, but it's one of the pre-rehearsal test runs where you can see him holding his hands on his chest, draws the revolver, aims it forward, fires the trigger. Now, he claims he's just cocking the handle, but you can see his finger is well within the trigger well there. You can see his finger is well within, and if he's cocking that handle and putting pressure on that trigger, guess what happens with some of these antique arms? That's going to fire the bullet. And obviously, a bullet was fired that struck and killed her, then passed through and then struck one of the assistant directors that was standing behind her. It hit him in the shoulder, right? So that's the upward trajectory of the bullet. So we know what happened. The question is, why is this not been charged yet in the county of Santa Fe? And we know why. It's politics. It's politics and power. The fact that this guy has so many political connections and has so much power and influence and notoriety that there have not yet been voluntary or involuntary manslaughter charges placed upon Alec Baldwin. When you use an inherently dangerous instrument, and go listen to Andrew Branca, the Law of Self-Defense blog, go read all of his legal analysis on this. This is literally the main thing, the only thing, really, that he practices law on. He focuses on people being shot. Was it self-defense? Was it criminal? What's the situation? And you pull up the statutes here. It does not matter under criminal law who loaded the gun. It matters who fired the gun. It's as simple as that. And when you pick up an inherently dangerous instrument and you use it in such a way that causes the death of another, that is why we have the manslaughter charge. Do we think, right? And now Tim Pool, remember, Tim's got his theory that it may have been intentional. Tim thought it may be intentional. And his theory was that because she was annoying him by asking him to do the scene over and over and over, and that he may have been getting frustrated and he may have been getting annoyed, and that he may have pulled the trigger in an act of anger, in a brief burst of that kind of anger directed towards her. And so, well, you would say, how can you say that? We haven't seen the video yet. But remember, what do we do? And it's very suspicious, by the way, the fact that we haven't seen the video. It's been 6 months. Release the video. Show us. Just show us the evidence. Show us what happened. But his lawyers are fighting as hard as possible to keep that under seal. But we know that Alec Baldwin lashes out at people. He has a history of doing this. He has a history of assaulting journalists. He has a history of attacking people trying to take pictures with him. We know that he has this tendency to lash out. And we know what he's left, that voicemail, on his own daughter's answering machine. So we know. We know he has this history and he has this tendency. So all we're asking is, show us the evidence. Show us the evidence of what happened that day, what happened in that moment. Did he intend to pull the trigger, or did he pull the trigger accidentally, or did he pull it in a moment of anger? We're only going to know that when we can actually look at the video and when a jury of 12 looks at it. This is why we have juries in this country. This is why we have trials.
Well, I'm just so sorry for Bishop Evans' family and the rest of the National Guard. It's a real tragedy, but it's really Joe Biden that is enabling this entire disaster. He's the greatest friend of the cartels. He's actually king of the cartels and the best business partner they've ever had. He's enabling the entire human and drug smuggling into the United States, and unfortunately, the United States taxpayers are the ones paying for it. We just need a few Democrats to be courageous and step forward so we can pass it, make Title 42 permanent.
So there you go. The White House blocked from taking down Title 42. But understand that even with Title 42 still in place, our border is a complete mess. It's absolutely unacceptable, and no serious country would do this. You think China would allow their borders to be as porous as ours? Do you think Russia would allow people to do this to their borders? How about Iran, right? North Korea. You go try some of that stuff. Try sending 100,000 people per month across the borders in any one of those countries. See what happens. See how it goes for you. This isn't how serious countries operate. And there's a story this week that should be the number one story in the entire country, and that's Bishop Evans, Texas National Guard specialist, a soldier of this country who signed up to serve the United States, and he saw a couple people in the Rio Grande River who needed help. And he went to go save them, and he lost his life in the process. We're told that it looks like he drowned. We also found out that the people that he was rescuing were drug smugglers. They were people smuggling narcotics, probably fentanyl. We know that's been going again and again, day after day on the border. This has gotten so bad and so out of control that we're losing people now on the border who are just there trying to do their jobs. The kind of people that will go in to save the life of a criminal drug smuggler. People like him are the type of people that we want to support in the United States, that we want to honor. These are the type of people that we should be doing everything we can as a society to get behind and to encourage and to reward and promote. That's a hero. But we're not. We're barely even talking about it. Right? And they're blaming it on this and that and the other thing. No, it's your policies. It's this administration's policies that put him in that situation where he was forced to make that choice. You have to go back. You have to look at the prime mover in these situations. What was the first situation? The first was that because our borders are open the way they are, because our borders are so porous, because they don't care about actual security, you got people on the border, soldiers of the United States of America, losing their lives over this border. What serious country does that? What serious country allows this massive flood again and again and again? No, this is a huge problem, and it's their problem because they set it up from the start to be like this. And I think that every single member of Congress should be forced to ask up or down whether or not they support this situation that led to the death of this soldier. And that's all the time we have today for Human Events Daily. Remember our promise, our oath, our solemn vow to you: be good, be brief, be gone. Your homework for us: share this out with just one of your normie friends, and then leave us a 5-star review, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. What do we talk about today? Durham subpoenas the Clinton campaign, the DNC, and dropping hundreds of media emails. Next, the Twitter board accepting the buyout from billionaire Elon Musk. Third, a new video released showing Alec Baldwin pointing the gun at the camera, and we know what happened afterwards. And finally, this federal judge temporarily blocking the Title 42 lift, keeping it in place as we lose a U.S. soldier on the border. But before we go, it's time for today's moment of history, the history break. 1986 today, the Chernobyl nuclear accident in the USSR today on the territory of Ukraine. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, you have my permission to lay ashore.
Are gas prices too damn high?
Yeah, they're too high.
They're too high? Would you be for more drilling in America to lower prices? Yes. Would you be in favor of drilling in America for cheaper energy?
Well, we have the capability and infrastructure for it, so why not?
Would you be for more development of energy resources here in America and American jobs to lower energy prices?
That's such a debatable question. I am. A lot of my friends are not.
What would be your message to the politicians in charge for cheaper gas, cheaper fuel, cheaper energy?
Vote in the new administration in a few years.
Would you be for more American energy here to get the gas prices lower? More jobs for Americans, more development of American energy?
Yes.
I knew you'd have an amazing thing to say. Thank you very much. Love your hair. Welcome to 7-Eleven in Tampa, Florida. Tampa, Florida. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a consistently blue city, liberal area. What do people here think about drilling in America for more renewable energy? We know what the White House has to say.
No more drilling on federal lands. No more drilling, period. Ends.
The White House says no more pipes. The only pipes you're allowed to talk about are the crack pipes on Hunter Biden's laptop. What are they doing? Well, they're banning new leases and new drilling in America, and they're banning the Keystone XL pipeline that would bring you cheaper gas. What are we looking at here? $4.64. That is what Ultra costs here at the 7-Eleven. Comment below, let us know what gas prices are in your areas. Around the country, you've seen gas prices are $6, $7, $8 a gallon. Insanity. But, ladies and gentlemen, what we have here at the 7-Eleven are some good people who are going to tell us what they think about drilling in America for cheaper energy and cheaper fuel. It's all about the kitchen table, right? I can't wait to hear what they have to say. Let's go find out. Are gas prices too damn high?
Yeah, they're too high.
They're too high? Would you be for more drilling in America to lower prices?
Yes.
You would say more American energy so the gas prices can be low, right?
Right.
Gas prices too high?
Yes.
This is like a big deal, right? It's like double the price.
Yes.
Would you be for more American energy here to get the gas prices lower? More jobs for Americans, more development of American energy?
Yes.
Yes! 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 I knew you'd have an amazing thing to say. Thank you very much. Love your hair.
Pink hair?
Yes! Would you be in favor of drilling in America for cheaper energy?
Well, we have the capability and infrastructure for it, so why not? It seems a waste not to use it.
So you'd be for the development of renewable energy and resources here in this country? Because there's like a ton of oil and energy available in America that's not being utilized right now.
Absolutely. That's like Russia saying, hey, we won't use our natural oil reserves because we want to pursue greener energies and screw our own economy. No, we have the capability here. Why not use it?
What would be your message to the politicians in charge for cheaper gas, cheaper fuel, cheaper energy?
Vote in the new administration in a few years.
He is going to destroy the oil industry.
Would you be for more development of energy resources here in America and American jobs to lower energy prices?
That's such a debatable question. I am. A lot of my friends are not, but I am. Yes.
No, God! No, God, please, no!
No more drilling, period.
Yeah, baby, come on, man, get loose!
Would you be for producing more oil here in America to make gas cheaper?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Gas price, yeah. At least New Yorkers, I bet you they pay triple than what we pay here.
Yeah.
That's why I moved from New York here.
Yeah.
I thank God that I have my job. Okay, I might not be rich, but I'm living comfortable.
Yeah, that's right. Putting a hurt on a lot of people. Yeah, that's right. Hey, thanks a lot for your comments, man. God bless you. Would you be for development of American energy? American gas?
Definitely.
Make gas cheaper here, provide American jobs.
Oh yeah, definitely. If it helps the economy to lower the tax rate that you tax us for, even if it has to lower your dollar amount that you get paid as a politician, you know, I think for the people.
That's right.
You know?
For the people.
What's that thing they keep all that gas in?
Petroleum reserve?
Yeah, release some of it.
Yep.
Release some of that gas.
Joe Biden's 80 years old. I mean, he should be a pro at releasing gas. We've been following the news. More jobs in Florida. Florida gas. Ladies and gentlemen, more gas jobs in America. If anybody should know about releasing gas energy and natural gas, it should be Joe Biden. He's done it all throughout Europe. Watch this.
Joe Biden apparently broke wind in front of Camilla Parker Bowles. That's got to be the end of his presidency, surely.
Tabloids are reporting about Joe Biden's long fart at the global climate change gathering in Scotland. It takes a lot to make the Duchess embarrassed. Her entire family is old farts.
Would you be for more energy drilling here in America to lower the prices? This is a killer. $5 again, $4.64.
Too much.
Crazy.
Too much.
Last question. What's your message to politicians to lower gas?
What?
To the politicians, to the people who control the gas flow. What would be your message to them?
I don't know. Lower the gas.
Lower the gas. Yeah, that's right. Thanks a lot, man. Appreciate it. All right.
These are the gas prices this year.
No, 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 no. Hell no. Little thing you may not know about Tampa Bay, something that we like to keep secret. The Buccaneers, Tom Brady, he retired for like 3 weeks. Everyone said he went back because he missed the love of the game. Oh, I gotta miss the game. I want to go back and win another Super Bowl. Not true. Tom Brady saw the gas prices and he was like, I'm not gonna be able to afford retirement. I gotta go back and play a couple more seasons because of the gas prices. Little thing you didn't understand about his contract. Actually, the Buccaneers now pay for his gas. Big negotiation point for Tom. We're proud of you, buddy.
With the interception. And now Michaels with a great call.
Politicians. A lot of taxes and stuff go into the price of energy. What's your message to the general political class about the price of energy and what it's doing to the people that you know and how it's affecting people that you know?
Well, it's affecting everybody just like the price of groceries. You know, I mean, everything, people are just having a hard time surviving.
That's right.
Very difficult.
People at the 7-Eleven, even here in very dark blue and liberal Tampa Bay, say, excuse me, sir, more drilling here, less pipes on Hunter Biden's laptop and more pipes in the ground delivering oil to us. People saying, hey, the oil and the gas prices, too damn high.
Yes.
Too much.
Crazy.
Too much.
Biden administration, get your act together. The people want cheaper gas. They want American jobs. Drill here, drill now. Ladies and gentlemen, unleash American energy. That's been Benny on the Block for this episode of Benny on the Block. See you next week. Hey, it's Benny Johnson here, Turning Point USA's Chief Creative Officer. If you like this video you just watched, be sure to subscribe to the official Turning Point USA channel and never miss an episode. See you guys next week.
It's just never been my thing, not into it, so not approved by me.
Did you see that? Tink's possibly being a conservative is not the most problematic thing about her. It's clearly the fact that she hates matte foundation. Cannot relate. Matte everything, always. Also on the radar today are popular influencers abusing animals, Candace Owens' star-studded baby shower, and Hot Take Tuesday, and of course we're talking Elon. I'm Alex Clark, and this is Popolitics. I swear, every single girl in my life who I consider to be cool has posted about or brought up this Tinks chick in conversation with me lately. I am not on TikTok, like on. So I've been a little ignorant to the world of Tinks, but now I feel like I've let everyone down because she's clearly one of the best influencers out there, if you will, of the current influencer generation. Like, how have I missed out on this chick who's known for being TikTok's big sister and because of her popularity now has a Sirius XM show and podcast, plus might be conservative?
I don't know what you think I've done, but if we were to battle, I've already won.
Tinks is American, but grew up in London, big rich kid energy, and then moved to California to go to Stanford. She's lived in the US ever since. And then when the pandemic happened, she started making these hilarious TikToks with pop culture commentary or advice from a millennial who's been there, done that, and she just exploded.
Vogue did an article about me. Like, you guys, what? Insane moment for me. So grateful. Just want to read you a quote of mine that I thought was good to say to a Vogue editor. Adam Sandler is someone I think a lot about when I get dressed. How big can my t-shirt be? How long are my shorts? I'm sure I will be front row at Fashion Week.
Her entire brand is making you feel like you're her best friend or like you too can dare to have rich mom energy, which she does by talking super close into a tiny little microphone.
Rich mom energy is a state of mind. You can be a rich mom no matter who you are, no matter where you are. It's an attitude, it's not a trend. You can embody it whether you're slumming it or whether you're a billionaire. So when people are like, are you gonna be a rich mom? I'm like, I am a rich mom.
She's also gorgeous and doesn't try so hard in the way that influencers do sometimes that I can't stand. She's just the epitome of real. So now you know where the story goes, right? It's the same every time. When some old tweets resurfaced of Tinks's, her diehard fans felt like they didn't even know who their big sister was. There's a bunch of tweets of her saying different celebrities are fat, including Kim Kardashian, which honestly I couldn't care less about. Seriously, who gets offended by this kind of stuff? The real juice is that her fans are now pearl clutching because the evidence seems to point towards Tinks possibly being a conservative.
Donald J. Trump is now president of the United States. President Obama.
During the pandemic, she retweeted Eric Trump and Betty Johnson, questioned Governor Gavin Newsom, the lockdowns, and even the origins of the virus. Based as hell, whether she meant to be or not. But because of the backlash, she did a Q&A yesterday where someone asked her straight up if she voted for President Trump in 2016 or 2020. She replied, nope, but I just wonder if she's lying to save face. I so want to be full in on the Tinks train, so please don't be a freaking lib.
We accept that one of us. Google got one of us. We accept that one of us. Google got
Before everyone, including myself, quit watching The Bachelor because wokeness infected it like black mold, do you remember Kayla Quinn from Ben Higgins' season?
Oh gosh, I have to poop so bad. Are those farts or bubbles? Oh my gosh, he knows. He totally knows. She is stinking up the place.
She's getting intense backlash this week for posting an Instagram story of a man decapitating a snake he found in her yard.
And?
I guess she recorded a video of a man holding a small snake with pliers. She was like, where did you find that? And he pointed in the yard with the snake, and she was like, in the corner? Are there more? What kind of snake is that? And then she gives the man scissors and tells him to kill it, which he does. Here's part of the video without the actual snipping.
What kind of snake is that? Oh my gosh! Come here, take the scissors. We won't kill it. Do you want a hammer? Do you want to? It's alive. It's definitely alive. Oh my God, it's moving. Here, kill it, please.
People are demanding that Kayla apologize to her followers. One person said, 1, this was a needless killing of a harmless animal. 2, it was killed in an extremely inhumane way. Someone even posted that snakes can feel pain and fear hours after decapitation. And 3, she chose to gleefully broadcast all of this for content. Sorry, not sorry, but do you actually care about this? I feel like this is like the Tinks fat tweet thing for me. I don't care if someone kills a snake. She also has a little dog that she was worried about, okay? I mean, do you think this scenario constitutes as animal abuse, as some are saying?
I'm a snake. I'm a snake. I'm a snake.
While everyone was super offended today. Candace Owens had a star-studded baby shower for her second child, a little girl. It appears that the Aldeans hosted it for her, and she wore a one-shoulder pink bow maxi dress. In attendance was your girl, Raylynn, and one person I did a little squeak for, Lauren Lane.
That's a rich, meaty, juicy answer. Thank you.
I figured that her and her country star husband, Chris Lane, were conservative for a while, so this definitely confirms it. I'm glad Candace has found a fun girl gang in Nashville. I saw lots of comments in the Cute Conservatives Facebook group over the weekend of some of you saying that you feel like you haven't found a best friend as an adult. You've really got to put yourself out there and join get-togethers and go to events and meet new people. Make sure that you're in your local Cute Conservative subgroup on Facebook too, and if your admins aren't setting up meetups for your area, take the initiative to do it yourself. And speaking of meetups, I will be going to the Orange County Cute Conservatives brunch Saturday morning in Newport Beach if you live in Orange County and you'll want to go.
You could live anywhere. Where would you live?
Bacon house.
If you thought those stories were spicy, wait till you hear today's Hot Take Tuesday.
Hot Take Tuesday.
Things did not cool down in regards to Elon buying Twitter. In fact, he had a meeting with a few shareholders and shared his plan on how he wants to completely revolutionize the social media platform. Allegedly, they were so impressed, they've now told the firm they have to do a deal with him. And guess what? They did!
These are our demands. This is what we want. Our balls are in your court.
Amber Heard got completely owned by makeup brand Milani when she tried to say that she always had to carry one of their little concealer kits everywhere she goes to cover up bruises from Johnny Depp. Milani said, and posted a TikTok proving that she was a lying hoe.
There's one thing you can expect from me, and that's the unexpected. 'Cause I'm an international super spy. Super spy!
Johnny Depp threw the media under the bus at the trial, also saying every time I tried to do an interview to explain my side, they turned it into a hit piece against me. He dropped the hammer also, saying I built the character of Captain Jack Sparrow from the ground up. I added so much of myself to it, and Disney declared me guilty until proven innocent, which, sadly, is the new normal. Gina Carano, anyone?
There'll be no living with her after this.
Real Housewives star Siggy Flicka says most housewives throughout the franchise are conservative and President Trump supporters. They just stay silent so that they don't get fired from Bravo. I don't find that surprising at all and actually thought this was common knowledge. Is it not?
You have a little family van. When do you ever bring a family van to pick up 6 people? Okay? This is ridiculous. You guys are everywhere. Why are you sending a family van?
Even less shocking than that is that First Lady Jill Biden was completely against the president choosing VP Kamala Harris as his vice presidential nominee after she called him racist in the debates. Jilly Billy Bo Billy even said that Miss Vice President could go F herself while talking to some lib supporters. Now, this is all according to a new book that's out. And by the way, when the First Lady was asked about that comment, she said, well, that was 2 years ago. We've moved on from that. Have you, Jilly?
Right.
We are almost a month away from YWLS, so you are very quickly running out of time to get a ticket. TPUSA.com/YWLS and use code POPLITICS for 25% off. That is June 2nd through 4th in Dallas, Texas. Heart this episode or give it a thumbs up if you're on YouTube, and let's talk tanks. Do you like her? Have you been following her? Do you find her tweets offensive? Also, is cutting the head off a snake in your yard animal abuse? DM this episode to someone who loves tanks and see if they think she's conservative and hit the save button. We're back tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. It's pop culture without the propaganda every single day. I'm Alex Clark, and this is Poplitics.
Clearly, Poplitics is best served visually, but you can also listen to Poplitics if you just want the audio. Subscribe to us anywhere you get your podcasts: Apple, Spotify, iHeart, TuneIn, and more. Also, make sure that if you are listening to the podcast version, you leave us a 5-star review. And don't forget, subscribe to Poplitics on YouTube.